Then I went to Douluo. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126 Tang Liu and Jin Rinxu's first meeting. It was already surprising that Tang San could absorb a 10,000-year spirit ring when he was at the fourth ring. But now, he actually absorbed a 100,000-year spirit ring when he was still a spirit emperor. Is this possible? Zhu King wanted to say that this was impossible, and that all this was presented by this illusion and was not credible. But he had no way to convince himself. Tang San had already exceeded the age limit to absorb a 10,000-year spirit ring once. Could he once again exceed the age limit to absorb a 100,000-year spirit ring when he was a spirit emperor? What was impossible for ordinary spirit masters might not be possible for Tang San. Therefore, even though he knew that this was just an illusion, Zhu King still felt a strong fear of Tang San. If everything presented in this illusion was true, even if the 100,000-year spirit ring was not mentioned, a spirit emperor of around 20 years old was a very scary thing. Even he had cultivated to the level of a spirit emperor a little later than this age. Moreover, his starting point was much higher than Tang San's. Looking at Tang San, who was fighting with himself in the illusion, Zhu King had the first thought of killing Tang San to eliminate future troubles. Before, although he showed that he valued Tang San very much, it was only on the surface. In his heart, Tang San was just a child. Although this child's talent was indeed extraordinary, it was not enough for him to have enough attention, because in his opinion, it was really not worth mentioning. But now, he has corrected his mentality and has placed Tang San in a position that he values enough. This means that from now on, he can no longer despise Tang San, and will go all out to deal with anything related to Tang San. Just as Zhu King was thinking this, the battle next to him was in full swing. Then, Tang San, Douluo and Yang Wudi seized the opportunity and rushed out of the palace with the Emperor of Heaven Dao and ran outside. The illusion Zhu King and the two titled Douluo, Thorny Porpoise and Snake Spear, followed closely. Zhu King also hurriedly moved to catch up, but as soon as he took a step, the surroundings were spinning. The scene in front of him flashed and arrived at the square in the palace. Zhu King subconsciously looked up, and then he saw the two people in the air at the moment. He was covered in golden light, with a pair of white wings on his back. And opposite him, Tang San was surrounded by thick blue and golden vines. Then, Zhu King heard his own voice. Tang San, I can give you the entire Xiandao Empire, as long as you can join our Wuhan Hall and help us unify the continent. I believe you are a man who knows the times, how about it? As long as you are willing to join and assist me, you will have a share of the world. Then you can enjoy all the wealth, wine and beautiful women. Tang San smiled. It sounds good, but I don't like war. Moreover, anyone can be the leader of the world, except your Wuhan Hall. What's more, your Wuhan Hall caused my mother to sacrifice and made my father decadent for so many years. With such hatred, do you think I can still join your Wuhan Hall without any grudges? Zhu King shook his head regretfully and said, in this case, I can't keep you today. However, since you are going to die, I will tell you one thing. Below, the main master suddenly had a bad premonition after hearing this. And this bad feeling, at the moment when Zhu King above spoke, turned into a deep chill, which completely enveloped him. Actually, my name is not Zhu King. Zhu King is just a pseudonym I used so that I can better infiltrate the Xiandao Empire. Although, this name did have an owner. But unfortunately, he was killed many years ago, and I was able to perfectly replace him. My real identity is the Saint of the Spirit Hall, the daughter of the former Pope, Jin Rinxu. Zhu King smiled faintly, raised his hand and gently covered his face. Zhu King felt a blackness in front of his eyes, and the deep chill completely swallowed him. Yes, he knew. This person knew. But, why? When? How did he know? He finally understood why he was pulled into this illusion. Because the person who pulled him into the illusion wanted him to know one thing. He knew her true identity. So no matter what happened next, that person had absolute initiative. She would not delusionally think that she could kill that person the moment she saw him. Because the person who could trap her in the illusion for such a long time must be extraordinary. Perhaps, the reason why she is still alive now is because she is still useful to that person. It was at this moment that she suddenly discovered something. The surrounding scenes all stopped at this moment. The next moment, The scene in front of her changed. She was no longer standing on the ground. Instead, she came to the air. She could see Tang San's puzzled face opposite her, and she also felt her hand covering her face. But she couldn't move. But as if she felt something in her heart, her eyes fell in one direction. Footsteps sounded in this absolutely silent world. A figure walked in slowly, and then revealed his face in the darkness. It was an absolutely extraordinary face. He was definitely a guy who could win the hearts of countless girls. If you don't take his height into consideration. And she had just seen the person who was walking over not long ago. The Tang Liu who made her even more wary. And now, it turns out that her fear was not wrong. But it didn't allow her to escape from the current situation. She was completely controlled. "Hello, Your Highness." Tang Liu finally stopped about 3 meters away from her. He looked at her, with a faint smile on the corner of his lips. His tone had a little hoarseness that was unique to teenagers during the voice change period, but it was still pleasant enough. As if the expectation was still the same, and as if they were old friends who had known each other for a long time. He spoke. "Or, I should call you Jinrixu." It was obviously a question, but he said it in a declarative tone. But her pupils suddenly contracted. Jinrixu found that she could speak again. "You, when?" Tang Liu smiled slightly. "I have always known," a simple sentence, but it caused a storm in Jinrixu's heart. Always? Does it mean from the moment he met her? Or did he know from the beginning? But no matter which one it was enough to put her in an extremely difficult situation. If he directly made her identity public, then all her efforts over the years would be wasted. Most of the arrangements made by the Spirit Hall over the years would be lost in an instant. Tang Liu knew what she was thinking, so he smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone." Jinrixu naturally wouldn't believe him. Tang Liu also knew that she wouldn't believe it, so he said, "Of course. You will definitely not believe my one-sided words, and I can't swear a poisonous oath to you for such a small matter. So, you can use all the means you can to deal with me in the future. As long as you can kill me, you have nothing to worry about. However, whether you can succeed is another matter." Jinrixu said vigilantly, "What do you want to do?" "What?" Tang Liu tilted his head and thought for a while. "Nothing, I just want to." Jinrixu's eyes widened slightly, and her pupils dilated. Because Tang Liu suddenly appeared in front of her, his eyes level with hers. "I just want to see you." He showed a malicious smile. Then he raised his hand gently, and tapped the back of Jinrixu's hand that was covering her face. Jinrixu suddenly felt an irresistible suction force coming from behind her, and the scenery in front of her was rapidly moving away from her, and finally turned into deep darkness. Then it suddenly stopped again. Chapter 127, Treat this as their first date. Jinrixu hadn't recovered from the rapid movement just now when Tang Liu's voice rang in her ears again. "I know you are very beautiful, but I don't know how beautiful you are, so I want to see your true face." Tang Liu walked around Jinrixu from behind her to her front, then looked her up and down, with praise in his eyes. "Now it seems that you are indeed the most beautiful person in Douluo." After saying that, he suddenly realized, "Oh, sorry, you probably don't understand the words I used. But it doesn't matter." Jinrixu realized that she had turned into her original appearance without knowing when. After hearing Tang Liu's words, she glared at him with her phoenix eyes. "What do you want to do? Just say it, don't waste time here. Anyway, I'm in your hands now, you can kill me or chop me up, whatever you want." Tang Liu couldn't help laughing. He shook his head and said, "Do you want to die so much? But don't worry, the one who wants to kill you is not me. Besides, now is not the time for you to die. As the future angel god, you are an indispensable part of my brother's future growth. Besides, I don't want to face the joint pursuit of Jin Liu and your mother Bibi Dong now." As soon as he said this, Jinrixu's heart trembled again. He knew everything. But then, he was attracted by a sentence in Tang Liu's words just now. "You want me to be Tang San's whetstone?" Jinrixu said with a trembling voice. "What do you think?" Tang Liu did not answer her directly, but smiled at her. Jinrixu's chest rose and fell violently, and then she suddenly raised her hand. In the golden light, the angel's holy sword stabbed at Tang Liu in front of her. "You, go to hell." The tip of her sword stopped in front of Tang Liu's nose, and then it could no longer move forward. "Did you forget something?" Tang Liu raised his fingertips and gently tapped the tip of the sword that was less than a centimeter away from him. The next moment, the sword turned into a stream of light and spread out. "This is my illusion." Jinrixu kept raising her sword and stabbing forward, gritting her teeth and looking at Tang Liu, her eyes almost spewing out substantial anger. Tang Liu was amused by her appearance, and lightly snapped his fingers, so Jin Ringsu found that her eyes were blurred again, and then she sat in the tea house. There was a sound of pouring water in front of her. She looked up and saw Tang Liu pouring tea into the teacup. Perhaps, this will give us a chance to talk peacefully. Tang Liu still had a smile on his lips, and he said calmly, then handed her a cup of tea. Jin Ringsu rolled her eyes at him fiercely, then accepted the tea from Tang Liu's hand. She held the teacup and looked at Tang Liu. This is just an illusion. Can you drink tea in an illusion? The implication was that Tang Liu was an idiot. Everything in the illusion was not real, so why did he have to drink tea? Tang Liu heard it, but he just smiled. As long as you feel that you are drinking tea, then you are drinking it. Hearing this, Jin Ringsu was going to pick up the teacup and take a big sip to calm her current terrible mood. However, when she just cast her eyes on the teacup in her hand, she found that the small white porcelain cup in her hand had become a soft cup of a material he had never seen before, about the length of a baby's forearm. The cup was filled with something that looked like milk, and then on the top of the cup was a layer of green stuff. Then, a tube was inserted into the center of the cup, which seemed to be the lid. What is this? Jin Ringsu looked at Tang Liu warily, her pretty face saying, what tricks are you trying to play? Give me something weird to drink. Are you trying to poison me? Tang Liu laughed. Don't worry, it's just an ordinary cup of matcha milk cap. I just want to give you a taste of memory. Maybe you will like it. Besides, if I wanted to kill you, I would have done it a long time ago. Okay. Jin Ringsu half-believed and half-doubtedly put the straw into her mouth and took a sip carefully. Well, this thing seems a little too sweet, Jin Ringsu swallowed and said. Tang Liu just looked at her quietly without saying anything. Soon Jin Ringsu tasted it again. Although it's a little too sweet, it doesn't seem unacceptable. Another sip. Well, it seems to be quite delicious. Another sip. Gulp gulp. In the end, she was completely immersed in the deliciousness of milk tea. Tang Liu showed an expression of as expected. Even girls on the Douluo continent find it difficult to resist the temptation of milk tea. Then Tang Liu silently pushed another plate over. Come, try this tiramisu and this black forest cake. These things are so sweet, but situ is so delicious. As expected, the temptation of sweets is also hard to resist. Tang Liu sat opposite her and watched her finish these things quietly, and then silently ticked a box in his heart. It seems that he can consider opening a dessert shop or something, which should be very popular. Maybe in the future, he can be given the title of founder of milk tea or father of dessert. Maybe the shop he opened can become a 10,000-year-old brand and then open chain stores on various planets in 30,000 years? Tang Liu suddenly felt a little tempted. He quickly restrained himself. Now the business is the most important thing, don't think about those things. He looked at Jin Ringsu, who was obviously still unsatisfied, and said, you know, what you just ate might make you gain a lot of weight. Jin Ringsu, who was still hesitating whether to say thank you, as expected, the little bit of good feelings she had for him was an illusion. So she said calmly, this is an illusion, so she won't gain weight no matter how much she eats. Tang Liu nodded, that's true. But how do you know if I lifted the illusion when you were eating? Jin Ringsu, I know what your purpose is, so please don't beat around the bush, just say what you want to say. Tang Liu put his hands under his chin, propped up his head, looked at her and smiled. Do you know how your father died? Jin Ringsu frowned. Based on Tang Liu's words, and thinking about his previous performance in this tea house, she thought of a lot in an instant. So she asked, do you know what happened to your father, Haoshan Douluo? Tang Liu neither confirmed nor denied, and kept smiling. You haven't answered my question yet. However, his performance made Jin Ringsu more certain of her guess. What happened back then? She asked. She knew that her father was seriously injured by Haoshan Douluo after the battle that year. Although he returned to the Pope's palace in the end, he died soon after. Then Bibi Dong, her mother, succeeded to the throne of Pope. Although her father died of illness in the end, it was definitely related to Tang Hao. Even though she and her father Kyank Sunji didn't have much affection, and she admired Tang Hao very much, if she had the chance in the future, she would choose to kill Tang Hao. Now, Tang Liu seemed to know all the secrets of the year, and she was also very curious about what happened back then, so she was a little eager to know. But she also knew that Tang Liu was unlikely to tell her these, so she was just asking. I'm going to choose the heroine, everyone pay attention to the comment area. Chapter 128. The end of the first meeting. Tang Liu's expression remained unchanged, and he said, "What happened to my father is not important. What's important is what happened to your father." Jin Ringsu couldn't help but say, "My father died because of your father." Tang Liu smiled and said lightly, "Because of that battle, more than 70% of my father's meridians are now blocked, his internal organs are all dislocated, and he has countless major and minor injuries. But because he is a titled Douluo, he is still alive and well even with such a body." "And how long has your father entered the titled Douluo realm before my father? What's more, you were 3 titled Douluos at the time, plus dozens of soul Douluos and soul saints besieged my father together. Even if he had a 100,000-year soul ring, he was no match for 4 hands in this situation, and barely escaped. Even if your father is going to be more seriously injured, how can a titled Douluo die so easily? You may think that this is because of the 100,000-year spirit ring and spirit bone, but I can tell you clearly that the 100,000-year spirit ring can improve the physical fitness of the spirit master, but it is far less powerful than you think. It is not as good as the improvement of the physical fitness by the 100,000-year spirit bone. However, your father has already absorbed at least 3 pieces of angel god armor with a time limit of 99,999 years. Do you dare to say that the amplification effect brought by these 3 pieces of spirit bones will be worse than that of the 100,000-year spirit bones?" Having said this, he paused, and then looked at Jin Ringsu meaningfully. "Why don't you think about whether there is someone else who caused your father's death?" Jin Ringsu was very surprised that Tang Liu knew about the angel god armor, but she was still calm on the surface, and said, "Even if that's the case, do you know that you just revealed a very important information to me?" Tang Liu's lips curled up. "Are you referring to the 100,000-year spirit bone that my father didn't absorb?" Jin Ringsu nodded. "Aren't you afraid that I will spread this news and let your family be hunted down by the spirit hall again?" Tang Liu laughed loudly the moment she finished speaking, causing Jin Ringsu to frown and look ugly. Tang Liu stopped laughing, looked at her and said, "I say, did you miss the point? I was kindly reminding you about the murderer who killed your father, but you talked to me about the 100,000-year soul bone and said that you wanted the spirit hall to hunt down my family again." Jin Ringsu's expression turned cold. "Then you tell me, who is the murderer who killed my father?" Tang Liu smiled. "You know that person, and you know her very well. Her talent is better than yours. Even if you are a congenital level 20 with full soul power, you are not as good as her." "Who is it?" Jin Ringsu's tone was a little urgent. Tang Liu paused for a while, then put on a wicked smile. "Why should I tell you? Guess it yourself." Then, before Jin Ringsu could get angry, his expression changed again, full of coldness, the ice in his eyes, looking at Jin Ringsu as if he was looking at a dead person. "Besides, who gave you the courage to say that you would hunt down my whole family?" He grinned. "Fish Liang." Jin Ringsu, "Who is Fish Liang?" Tang Liu didn't give her time to be confused. He supported himself on the table with both hands and stood up. At the moment he stood up completely, the wooden table between him and Jin Ringsu began to lengthen rapidly. Along with it, the scene of the tea house around him and the distance between Tang Liu and Jin Ringsu also lengthened. The surrounding scene also darkened rapidly as the distance between the two of them grew farther. Finally, in the huge space, only Tang Liu and Jin Ringsu were left with color. The rest was all dark. Jin Ringsu had also stood up a long time ago. Now he was looking at Tang Liu in the distance, and he had an extremely bad premonition in his heart. And this premonition became a reality the next moment. Because Tang Liu took a step towards her. Along with the footsteps, there was a sound of the illusion breaking, like a mirror breaking. In Jin Ringsu's eyes, in the darkness, the colors and scenes of reality appeared behind Tang Liu. He took another step out, and then reality gradually eroded the darkness. The sound of the mirror breaking made the footsteps sound like a life-threatening bell ringing in the heart, and gradually approached her with an indescribable palpitation. She was struggling, trying to resist, trying to escape, but she couldn't move, and even had difficulty breathing. She could only watch the real picture gradually approach her and become clear through her drastically contracted pupils. And the person who kept walking towards her. Then she finally saw the ominous green light released from his left eye, and the strange circle around his eye sockets, as if the magic pattern of leaping flames. When she saw the light clearly, the darkness faded away, and she returned to reality. It was also the time when she could act. She didn't even have time to see where she was, and her body rushed out involuntarily. The golden light exploded from her body as her white wings spread behind her. 6 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple and 2 black, lit up almost at the same time. She rushed towards Tang Liu with the holy sword of the angel, roaring with an angel. She stopped suddenly again, and the tip of the sword was in front of Tang Liu's throat, unable to move forward. It was like being strangled by an invisible hand, and the angel roar was suddenly interrupted. There was silence all around. Then she heard his chuckle. As an angel, don't you think roaring is a bit cheap? He took another step forward, and the holy sword of the angel that should have pierced his throat directly turned into scattered light, scrambling to escape. He stood in front of her, almost sticking to her. He raised his hand, and gently lifted her chin with his fingertips, and then admired the fear in her eyes. Or are you just a fake angel? As soon as he finished speaking, she found that the green light emanating from his left eye had completely disappeared, and the magic patterns around his eye sockets had also faded away. But in his eyes, a more oppressive blue-black light shone. She felt that her whole body, from her soul to her martial spirit, was trembling slightly. It was as if she had seen an absolute superior. You don't really think that I'm just a soul master? He spoke again, and at the same time, the light emanating from his eyes became stronger, and it seemed that his body began to radiate light. Have I ever told you that I am actually also an innate level 20 full soul power? My real cultivation is actually a soul king. His words made Jinriksu's pupils shrink violently again. And as long as I want to. His body revealed a blue-black stream of light that was so rich that it was almost tangible. It looked like it was made up of countless particles with a mechanical texture, mysterious and dangerous. Circles of the same color, some of which were illusory and transparent, slowly rose from under his feet while the blue-black stream of light was rotating around his body, and his figure gradually floated up in the process. I can be a soul emperor. Jinriksu kept her chin lightly supported by him and flew into the air with his figure. She looked at the 6 circles of blue-black illusory soul rings behind Tang Liu, her eyes full of shock. And this shock, later, all turned into horror. Because the 7th circle of soul ring rose from under his feet. It can also be a soul saint. He looked at her and finally slowly forced a smile. Just because I don't want to face Douluo now doesn't mean I'm afraid of him. On the contrary, it's not a big deal if I want to kill him. But he's an indispensable condition for you to become the god of angels. For my brother, I won't do that. So, let's discuss something now. He leaned slightly closer to Jinriksu's ear and whispered softly, do me a favor and don't tell anyone about what happened today, okay? For a moment, Jinriksu felt that she was restrained by something. She couldn't help but say, okay, so Tang Liu smiled softly. A blue light flashed, and Jinriksu fell to the ground. Tang Liu disappeared. In fact, everything Tang Liu did at the end was in front of Zhu King's face, Greek letter Omega. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129 Toolman Tang Liu. After Tang San and Tang Liu left the tea house, they rushed back to Shrek Academy. As soon as they entered the academy, they saw Master and Ning Rongrong who had been waiting for them. Xiao-san, Xiao Liu, you are back, Master looked at them and said. Tang San nodded to him, Teacher, do you have something to talk to us about? Master replied, mainly for you. I will give Rongrong some special training these days, and these trainings will also be of some benefit to you, so you will train with Rongrong these days. What about Xiao Liu? Won't he be with us? Tang San asked. Because Xiao Liu has already mastered the training content I will give you next, so there is no need for him to come and participate. Tang San nodded, said goodbye to Tang Liu, and left with Ning Rongrong under the guidance of Master. After watching Tang San go away, Tang Liu did not leave by himself, but stood there quietly for several minutes. Then he seemed to have just come to his senses, blinked, and his face became a little pale. The endurance is still a little insufficient, he murmured, and then walked towards his dormitory. Of course, he did not forget to use the Haolin mark to check Tang San's current location. After finding that he was with Master Ning Rongrong, he recalled that Tang San should be learning distraction control now. So he no longer paid attention to Tang San's situation, and after returning to the dormitory, he began to practice. Now his own distraction method is gradually becoming more and more perfect. In addition to the few parts of mind that are indispensable for each practice, he will now divide a few more parts of mind to do other things, such as exploring the situation through the Haolin marks that were arranged before and marked in recent years. During the period when he was with Tang San in the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire, he suddenly had the idea of leaving many Haolin marks on many birds that can migrate long distances. From then on, his vision has grown rapidly. When he was free, he liked to observe the situation of Douluo continent through these Haolin marks. Sometimes it was just the same old mountains, forests, and city crowds. Sometimes he could see amazing scenery, interesting people or things. In short, it was very interesting and not boring at all. Part of his consciousness was jumping between these different scenes. In addition to killing the boring time of cultivation, he was also gathering information. For example, he wanted to see if there were more good-looking juniors and seniors not in college, and whether there were any children from the Holy Soul Village. He wanted to see if there were any soul beasts around the trees in the soul-hunting forest that he didn't recognize. He wanted to see the sunset forest and the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire. And the star-dug great forest, what Ming was doing recently. Of course, his home. And Tang Hao. See where he was and what he was busy with. However, today, Tang Liu first went to see the situation of Jinring Su, to see if she was angry and crying. Or, scared and crying? Tang Liu felt that he was not qualified enough to do this thing of scaring Jinring Su. Of course, he didn't cry because of anger. He was just angry, and it was impossible for her to cry. Of course, there was definitely some fear. But for soul masters, fear is not terrible, and it can often become a motivation for them to practice harder. 2 days have passed since the preliminaries. And Shrek Academy has also welcomed their second game. Against the Elephant Armor sect, the Elephant Armor Academy. The Elephant Armor Academy is very strong. If you still play with the lineup of the last game, the winning rate will be less than 1%. If you play with a full main lineup, even if you can win, your strength will be completely exposed. I personally suggest that you give up this game and save your strength. After all, the top 5 teams in the preliminaries can enter the promotion game and the finals. In the preparation area, the master said to the Shrek students. But it is obvious that no one wants to lose. Because they obviously have the strength to win, so why choose to fail deliberately? Besides, who among the present is not a child of destiny? The pride in their hearts will not allow them to fail. This may also be the origin of the pride and glory of Shrek Academy. Just when Tang San was arranging his troops, Tang Liu suddenly stood up and interrupted. Zhu Qing, Xiaoyao, you don't need to play. Continue to preserve our Shrek's strength. Senior Sister Jiangzhu, I will replace you. The rest of the personnel remain unchanged. After hearing what he said, everyone's first reaction was not to refute him, but to look at the master. Because the master had said a long time ago that Tang Liu could not play in the preliminaries. However, what everyone did not expect was that the master did not object at the first time. Instead, after pondering for a moment, he looked at Tang Liu and said, if you are allowed to play, then even though only 3 of the 7 devils are on the field, it will not be difficult to win this game, and it can also minimize the leakage of the 7 devils' strength. However, this will be disadvantageous to you, Xiao Liu. In fact, the master did not let Tang Liu play in the preliminaries, not to prevent him, the biggest trump card of Shrek Academy, from being exposed, but to protect him. To be frank, Tang Liu's current strength does not need to be hidden. If he participates in the competition from the beginning to the end, it is possible that he can lead Shrek to win the championship without doing anything. Then the trial effect of this competition for the 7 monsters will not be as good as expected. The significance of Tang Liu's existence is more of a guarantee, to ensure that there will be no uncontrollable situations in future competitions, to ensure that Shrek Academy will definitely win the championship. And now, the Elephant Armor sect is undoubtedly very suitable for this unexpected situation, and they can definitely send Tang Liu to play. However, if Tang Liu is put in the open now, the situation in the future will become complicated. Not to mention other forces. First of all, there will be a lot of trouble from the Spirit Hall. But it's okay, it's about time anyway. Tang Liu waved his hand and said heroically. So the master nodded and agreed. Okay, then the personnel will be the same as last time in the competition later, but Xiaoli will replace Jingling, and Jiangzi will still play. Tang Liu listened to him and understood. And then the master also explained the reason for his arrangement. Although Xiaoliu is on the field, you will inevitably get injured, so Jiangsu must play. In addition, even if you don't need treatment, the elephant armor sect will also need it, everyone. Oh, I see. The game time soon arrived. With the announcement of the host, the participating academies of Shrek Academy and Elephant Armor Academy entered one after another. As a new face, Tang Liu quickly attracted the attention of most people, not only in the audience, but also in the various rulers on the podium. Then, they were all surprised by Tang Liu's immaturity, height. Such a young child, is he really 14 years old? Emperor Ziyu was surprised. The author watched the video of Slender Man, arrival on Bilibili today and was scared. Chapter 130. What will Tang Liu do next after being ignored? Ning Fengzi, who was sitting next to him, smiled and said, Your Majesty, this child is indeed 14 years old, and he is also a soul master in Shrek Academy. Emperor Ziyu sighed. This Shrek Academy is really full of talents, and has cultivated so many geniuses. Meng Shenji behind him suddenly said, But this should have been the glory of our Shi and our Royal Academy. Emperor Zuyi, Prince Zuxing, yes, I am a little scared. Ning Fengzi couldn't help but curl his lips, coughed lightly, and said, This Tang Liu is a support-type soul master. I don't know what Shrek Academy's intention is to send him up in this game against Xiangjia Academy. Then, he looked at a particularly large man sitting next to Salus, the platinum leader of the Wuhan Hall, the leader of the Xiangjia sect in the lower four sects, Hu Yansun. I wonder what sect master Hu Yan thinks of this game. Ning Fengzi is definitely a qualified fake smile boy. So in contrast, the expressionless Hu Yanzun seemed a little too arrogant. Winning or losing is not important, but I think our Elephant Armor Academy has a greater chance of winning. After all, the leader of this team is my eldest grandson Hu Yanli, who is also the most outstanding disciple of the younger generation of my Elephant Armor sect. Hu Yanzun said indifferently, obviously not taking Shrek Academy too seriously. Ning Fengzi smiled slightly. I see, but I am more optimistic about Shrek Academy, especially the new student named Tang Liu who played today, who may be the key to Shrek Academy's victory. Hu Yanzun raised his eyes and glanced at Ning Fengzi, saying, It seems that Sect Master Ning is very confident in this unknown Shrek Academy. Ning Fengzi smiled and said, The teaching method of this academy is indeed outstanding, otherwise it would not be able to teach so many talented students, and I would not be so confident in them. Hu Yanzun sneered. Then wait and see, Sect Master Ning. Ning Fengzi smiled back with good temper, and then turned his attention to the competition venue between Shrek and Xiangjia Academy. The competition platform in the center. Then those who were sitting on the high platform made surprised expressions at the same time. What is that Tang Liu doing? Is he greeting someone? Emperor Ziyi said in confusion. Maybe he was saying hello to the audience. After all, it's normal for a teenager to be a little excited and vain when he comes to such a big scene for the first time, Meng Shenji explained awkwardly from behind. Seraph snorted coldly, You are so young and don't learn well, because in his eyes, most of the people on the viewing platform facing Tang Liu were women. Among the few people, Ning Fengzi should be the one who knows Tang Liu best, but now he can't understand what Tang Liu is doing. So he quietly forced the sound to become a line and said to Gu Rong, the bone Douluo beside him, Uncle Gu, do you know what that kid is doing? But he didn't get a response, so he couldn't help but turn his head to look, and then found that Gu Douluo was looking at a certain place with a serious expression. At the same time, Ning Fengzi also got his response. Someone is coming. Ning Fengzi couldn't help but look in the direction of his sight, but he didn't see anything. He couldn't help but ask, Who? Quick, Wrong, where are our new team uniforms? When they were about to enter the competition channel, the 7 participating team members surrounded Ning Wrong. It's been prepared a long time ago. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. Ning Wrong immediately took out brand new uniforms from her storage soul guide. They were all blue, probably to match the one Tang Liu was wearing now. The only difference was the color tone and the degree of blue, but the style and pattern were basically the same, and they matched very well. After Ning Wrong quickly distributed the new uniforms to the male and female students, Tang Liu immediately created a Shaolin force field space that was enough for all the Shrek participating students to quickly change their clothes. Not long after, everyone changed into their uniforms and signaled Tang Liu to remove the Shaolin force field. So, when the force field was removed, a brand new Shrek Academy team appeared. Finally, it looked like a college team coming to participate in the competition. Don't forget this. I think this is Dean Flanders' bottom line. Tang Liu pointed to the small Shrek monster badge on his chest and said. Of course I won't forget it. I don't want to be punished by the dean when I go back. Ning Rongrong stuck out her tongue. I think the dean has already hated us since we put on this outfit. Oscar pursed his lips to signal Flanders, who was already furious in the stands, but he couldn't hide the smile on his face. What are you afraid of? As long as we fight well in this battle, the dean won't punish us, Tang Liu said, but I think we can change into a uniform dark green outfit for the next game, although I think this is a good idea. Xiao Liu, are you scared? Ning Rongrong said with a smile. Tang Liu, save face. Tang San rubbed his hair and smiled. Failed to save face. Let's go. The game, come on, Shrek will win. The students watched the annoying contestant walk into the competition channel. After a short silence, the 7 Shrek contestants, Dai Mu Bei, Tang San, Xiao Wu, Tang Liu, Tai Long, Jiang Zhu, Wang Yuan, then felt the enthusiasm from the audience. The noise was like water accidentally poured into the ears when washing hair, making everyone deaf for a moment. But then, the blood in the body seemed to start boiling along with the noisy voices. The 7 students all walked into the central competition venue with their heads held high, feeling unparalleled self-confidence. Not to mention that they also changed into normal and good-looking uniforms this time. Everyone felt refreshed and radiant. As a result, the cheers from the audience became even stronger. After all, in the first game, the battle that Shrek solved in 1 minute really left them with too deep an impression. People all admire the strong. Even ordinary civilians. Besides, this is Douluo continent. The moment Tang Liu walked out of the entrance passage, he began to look around. After standing still on the competition stage, he found the person he was looking for on the top of the large building used for the high-level Soul Master Fighting Soul competition across the continent, directly opposite the high platform where Emperor Zhu Yi and the others were. He couldn't help but smile. Then he raised his right hand, put his index and middle fingers together and tapped his temple lightly, and then leaned forward. Then he saw that person turned his head away. He looked like he didn't want to pay attention to him. Tang Liu. Chapter 131, Being Ignored. Tang Liu really exploded. Tang Hao came to Xiandao City very early. Then on the day when the all-continental high-level Soul Master Academy Soul Fighting competition began, he quietly hid in a place where no one could find him, and quietly watched the first game of Shrek Academy. Yes, he is worthy of being his son. When he was a soul sect, he dared to absorb the 10,000-year soul ring, and he succeeded. As the owner of twin martial spirits, his talent is beyond doubt, and his efforts are even more seen by him. Among the group of children who are also geniuses, he also occupies a leading position. Even he can't find any faults. He has never let him down. He then followed them back to Shrek Academy. Silently, watching them practice from a distance. Even so, he felt very satisfied. Then 2 days later, Shrek Academy's game came again. This time it was against the Elephant Armor sect, which was a bit unexpected for him. But he also understood that this was just because he was afraid of the strength shown by Shrek Academy in the first game, so the Platinum Bishop of the Spirit Hall, named Ceres, operated in secret. It was a very simple and despicable method, but it was often the most effective. His opinion was the same as the Master's. If Shrek still sent the team that played against the Xiandao Royal Team II to fight against the Elephant Armor Academy, the winning rate would be less than 1%. However, what he didn't expect was that his other son also played in this game. He always thought that he would be kept by the Master until the finals. After all, the team of the Spirit Hall had 3 Soul Kings. After thinking about it for a while, he understood the Master's true intention. While he admired him, he was also a little unhappy. He actually used my son as a tool? Although that kid recognized you as his uncle without my consent, I can still treat you to hammer. Do you believe it? Then he saw that his youngest son, Tang Liu, was standing on the competition stage below and greeted him. With his titled Douluo's eyesight, there was no difference between standing here and standing in front of Tang Liu. So he could clearly see the smile on his youngest son's face. And the little joy in his eyes. This made him feel a little uncomfortable. Because everything now reminds him of the pale, empty-eyed Tang Liu he suddenly saw one night before. And not long ago, the Tang Liu who hugged him and said very seriously that he would be his pride. The contrast between before and after made him realize it very clearly. He was just a little kid, who should not have to worry about anything and was heartless. But why did he always seem to be lonely? So he turned his head slightly. The referee also announced the start of the game. If the kid wanted to concentrate on the game, He shouldn't pay attention to him, right? Then he found out that he was very wrong. Because Tang Liu not only did not start the game immediately, but jumped on the spot, and every time he jumped up, he crossed his hands above his head and waved them. It seemed that he would not give up until he responded. For a while, Tang Liu became the focus of everyone's attention. But he didn't seem to notice it at all, and he was still jumping there, just to attract his attention. It seemed that nothing else was more important than his attention. He couldn't help but slightly curl the corners of his lips, revealing a slightly helpless smile. Looking at Tang Liu's angry face below, he nodded slowly. The amplitude was also the kind that Tang Liu could recognize. So his son stopped jumping immediately, stood there with his hands on his waist for a while, and smiled with satisfaction. The next moment, his figure flashed. Just when all the spectators couldn't help but question Tang Liu moved. With a flash of blue light, he appeared at the front of Shrek's team, almost facing the 7 diamond mammoths from the Elephant Armor Academy who were completely possessed by martial spirits and were rushing towards them. Then the next moment, a scene that silenced all the audience appeared. 1 yellow, 1 purple, and 2 black. 4 soul rings that completely surpassed the best soul ring ratio rose from Tang Liu's feet. At the same time, the illusory blue gold vines also grew and stretched from the palm of his left hand, like a person stretching, with a kind of lazy beauty. The 7 members of the Elephant Armor Academy were obviously frightened by Tang Liu's 4 soul rings and staggered and stopped. Then, before they could react, the first yellow spirit ring around Tang Liu flickered. The blue-silver vines rolled back and attached themselves to his left arm. Then, Tang Liu rushed forward, and his figure actually passed through the iron wall formed by the 7 diamond mammoths and came behind them. He then stopped suddenly and turned around, stretched out his hands and aimed at the 2 diamond mammoths in the middle, and pulled them hard. Control the crane and capture the dragon. Huyanli and a friend beside him were immediately pulled by the section force coming from behind, and staggered back. Fortunately, their weight gave them a relatively stable lower body, so after 2 steps, they were able to stand firm again. However, the 2 steps they took back directly caused the iron wall formed by them to collapse. The Shrek students on the opposite side immediately seized the opportunity. Tang San's 10,000-year spirit skill, the blue-silver cage, immediately rose up, separating the 7 diamond mammoths. Then, Daimubei's white tiger meteor shower all went towards Huyanli. As the blue-silver cage was broken, Huyanli was also constantly repelled by the white tiger meteor shower. Just when the white tiger meteor shower disappeared and Huyanli had no time to react, Xiao Wu teleported in front of him. The second skill, charm, made him stiff, and the first skill, waist bow, increased her strength. Then, she stepped on Huyanli's lower abdomen. At the same time, Tang Liu's control crane and capture dragon also began to exert force, and Tang San, who was teleported by him, also exerted force with him. When Tang San was teleported by Tang Liu, the blue-silver grass entangled Huyanli, and then he also used control crane and capture dragon, and worked together with Xiao Wu and Tang Liu to finally throw the big guy Huyanli into the air. Huyanli, who was still in the state of charm and in the air, was attacked again. This time it was Daimubei's white tiger fierce light wave. Huyanli was knocked far away. When he was about to fly out of the competition stage, his head suddenly released a burst of light, which lifted the charm state he was under. Afterwards, he used several soul skills in succession to stabilize his body and landed on the competition stage again. He looked up at the Shrek students, his eyes full of doubt, especially Tang Liu. Isn't this an auxiliary soul master? Chapter 132, The Commander is Alone. Tang San saw that he failed to get Huyanli out of the venue, and shook his head with a little regret. He glanced at Tang Liu beside him, and the next moment, the 2 of them were teleported back to the Shrek Academy team. At this time, the other 6 people from the Elephant Armor Academy also broke free from the blue-silver prison and escaped. However, they did not regroup immediately, but began to retreat quickly, and Huyanli also began to approach them. The people from the Elephant Armor Academy began to retreat, and the Shrek Academy chose to press the line. In the front were Daimubei, Tai Long, and Xiao Wu. While the 3 of them were rushing forward, they were also gradually pulling away. Just behind the 3 of them, Tang San followed slowly, with a blue-silver grass wrapped around the waists of the 3 people, keeping the distance from the 3 people within the maximum range that the blue-silver grass could currently cover. At the same time, His blue-silver grass also connected to Wang Yuan, Tang Liu, and Jiangzu behind him. Tang Liu and the other three behind him also kept the speed within the range covered by Tang San's blue-silver grass. They have been maintaining this formation and moving closer to the Elephant Armor Academy, while also becoming more and more scattered. The Elephant Armor Sect's martial spirit, the Diamond Mammoth, is a martial spirit with extremely strong defensive power. The defensive power of this martial spirit can allow the Spirit Master to withstand most of the attacks of the title Douluo when he is at the 8th ring. However, the Spirit Master with this martial spirit is not good at attacking. If there is an attack spirit skill, it is generally to collide with the size and weight advantage brought by the martial spirit, or to fall from a high altitude, or to vibrate the surrounding area of the body to achieve the purpose of attack. Although their attack method is very simple, once it hits, the power should not be underestimated, and few people can directly defend it head-on. But as long as you're careful, the attack of the Diamond Mammoth Spirit Master is not difficult to dodge. What's more, Tang Liu has 3 spirit skills that are perfect for Spirit Masters like the Diamond Mammoth. The control of the Virtual Spirit, the protection of the Virtual Spirit, and the breath of the Virtual Spirit. So he is not afraid of him at all, and he can directly confront him head-on. Soon, Liu Bei and the other 2 at the front of Shrek came to the front of the 6 people from the Elephant Armor Academy. At the same time, Hu Yanli also returned to the front of their team and faced Liu Bei, who was coming straight towards him. The first 3 spirit rings on his body all lit up, and his already huge body swelled again, and then he punched Liu Bei. This punch carried all the frustration and anger he had suffered before. Liu Bei did not overestimate himself, and used the 2 amplification spirit skills of White Tiger Body Barrier and White Tiger Diamond Transformation at the same time, and also punched out, rushing towards Hu Yanli's huge fist. A loud explosion sounded, and then Liu Bei stepped back a few steps, while Hu Yanli still stood there without moving. The evil-eyed White Tiger is not good at strength. When the difference in the spirit power levels of the 2 sides is not big, Liu Bei must be the one who suffers. Moreover, Tang Liu also gave Liu Bei a void spirit protection when he and Hu Yanli really met, otherwise Liu Bei would be injured immediately if he took such a blow. Seeing that he had repelled Liu Bei, Hu Yanli showed a smug expression. He immediately called on his teammates to start moving forward, preparing to chase and eliminate Liu Bei together. At this time, Tang San in the back suddenly pulled the blue-silver grass, so Liu Bei was immediately pulled back. Then, Tang Liu appeared in a blue light and stood in the position of Liu Bei before. "Hi," he greeted in a friendly way, and then immediately moved. He rushed towards Hu Yanli and passed through Hu Yanli's body again. Hu Yanli was startled, thinking that he was going to use the same trick again, and use the same method as at the beginning. So he turned around immediately, and his 6 teammates, except for the 2 who were found by Tailong and Xiao, also turned around. However, they did not see Tang Liu's figure, because Tang Liu used the Void Spirit's concealment to become invisible just after passing through Hu Yanli's body, and came back again when Hu Yanli and the others turned around. When Hu Yanli turned around and didn't see Tang Liu, he secretly thought it was not good. However, he made preparations in advance this time and lowered his center of gravity to ensure that he would not be sucked away by Tang Liu's crane control and dragon capture this time. However, the expected suction force did not come. Instead, an irresistible huge force fell on his back. Although he did not fly into the air this time, he still staggered forward a few steps and almost fell. At the same time, the breath in his body became disordered and he almost spit out blood. It turned out that when Tang Liu returned, he teleported Tai Long and Xiao Wu, who had originally found a student from the Elephant Armor Academy, as well as Liu Bei and Wang Yuan in the back, and then gathered the power of the 4 main output forces of Shrek Academy and had Hu Yanli alone. The fact that Hu Yanli was not seriously injured on the spot was already a manifestation of his unimaginable defense. Tang San in the back also pulled Jiangzu to his side with a blue-silver grass to prevent any unexpected situation from happening and causing them to be eliminated. Then, the next moment, Tang San used the 3 soul skills of entanglement, parasitism, and blue-silver cage in succession, and bound all 7 students of the Elephant Armor Academy. 25 seconds while Hu Yanli is injured, Tang San shouted at the back, and then threw another spider web binding towards Hu Yanli. "Go all out and eliminate the other 6, Tang Liu took over Tang San's words and said. The next moment, Xiao Wu, Tai Long, and Wang Yuan were teleported to the front of 3 of the Diamond Mammoths, while he and Liu Bei came to the front of the other 3 diamond mammoths. At the same time, Tang San's spider web binding fell on Liu, who is already bound by layers. At the same time, Liu Bei, Xiao Wu, Tai Long, and Wang Yuan released all their attack or amplification soul skills. At the same time, Tang Liu released his 4th soul skill, the breath of the virtual spirit. The virtual spirit blue silver emperor in the palm of his left hand began to grow rapidly until the height exceeded 4 meters, then stopped. Then, a circle of blue cloud-like halo was released from the huge blue silver emperor. The cloud swept over everyone present in an instant. The breath of the void spirit can purify all the negative effects on the friendly party identified by Tang Liu, and can also prevent the enemy identified by him from releasing attack-type soul skills. This also includes soul skills that amplify themselves to achieve the purpose of attack. So the soul skills originally attached to the 7 Diamond Mammoth Soul Masters were immediately interrupted. So their defense power dropped sharply. Then Shrek's attack fell on them. They were unable to move in the state of being bound by the blue-silver grass, and could only take all the attacks. So Xiao Wu, Tai Long and Wang Yuan shared the 3 students of the Elephant Armor Academy and knocked them all out directly. Liu Bei used a White Tiger Meteor Shower and a White Tiger Fierce Light Wave, which were 2 soul skills amplified by the White Tiger Body Barrier and the White Tiger Demon God Transformation at the same time, and also solved the other 3 Diamond Mammoths at the same time. Now, Liu was the only one left on the field. And he just happened to break free from his restraints. Chapter 133 Resurrection from the Dead. Excuse me, do you want to continue? Tang Liu waved his hand gently, and all 7 people from Shrek appeared around Li, surrounding him. He looked at Li, who looked a little bit unbelievable, and said. Li wanted to continue the game, but he knew that it was absolutely impossible for him to win against 7 people alone, and he would only bring shame upon himself. So he admitted defeat very straightforwardly, but he was somewhat unwilling to accept it. In particular, he did not expect that he would lose in the confrontation with Tang Liu, a support-type soul master. Tang Liu, aren't you also a tank? We are all support, but your damage is just a little higher than mine. Then, Jiangzi began to release skills to heal all the students of Xiangjia sect. After a set of skills were released, the 7 people from Shrek left happily. Tang Liu looked in that direction, but did not see anyone, so he left without any regrets. In the next few days, Shrek Academy played 4 more games, and won all of them without exception. Moreover, as one of the 3 teams that have won 6 consecutive victories since the start of the competition, the popularity of Shrek Academy among the people is also rising. In particular, after the uniforms of Shrek Academy returned to normal and became a unified dark green uniform. Then, their opponent in the 7th game voluntarily gave up. So they naturally won the first 7 consecutive victories since this competition. The Shrek students who had nothing to do planned to stay and watch the game, especially the games of Thunder Academy, Kamikaze Academy, Blazing Academy and Shianshu Academy, which were also the opponents that the master asked them to pay attention to. While everyone else was watching the game seriously, Tang Liu didn't care. He had already looked at the personnel configuration list of these academies in advance and found that the names he was familiar with had not changed, so he didn't worry too much. If there is really any change at that time, anyway, the brain work will be handed over to his brother, and he will be responsible for rolling over it. There is no fear at all. Yes, after obtaining the 5th soul skill of Hail and Magic, his endurance has been greatly improved. After knowing that Tang Hao is nearby, Tang Liu has begun to drift. Even if Jin Daoliu, Tang Chen, and Poseidon are here to harm him, he is not afraid. Of course, this is just an exaggeration to describe how far he drifts. If the 3 level 99 title Douluo attack Tang Liu together, he will have no choice but to run away immediately. However, he is likely to directly instigate 2 of them to rebel, and then Jin Daoliu may be the one to suffer. Jin Daoliu, in short, Tang Liu has always thought that he will not have the opportunity to play in the preliminaries. After all, in his memory, Shrek did not encounter very difficult games in the next game, except for the game with Shianshu, which ended in a draw. So, in the end, Tang San and Tang Liu decided to return to the academy to practice first, and not watch these meaningless games. However, Tang Liu did not express his intention to go back, but only expressed his intention to return to the academy to practice after Tang San left for a while. After obtaining the master's consent, Tang Liu quietly left in stealth, and then followed a Heaolin mark, and finally found Tang San's figure in the suburbs of Xiandao City. And also saw Xinian not far in front of Tang San. The corners of Tang Liu's lips couldn't help but rise when he saw Xinian. Then, Xinian, who was originally watching Tang San being tortured with a cruel face, was shot to death by Tang San, who suddenly jumped up with a Yama sticker. Tang San and Tang Liu beside him quietly watched. Xinian turned into a pool of smelly blood under the poison of the Yama sticker. Then, Tang San picked up the head soul bone that fell from Xinian. After a psychological struggle, he still put the soul bone into the 24 Bridges Moonlight Night, and finally walked slowly towards the school. After watching Tang San completely disappear from his sight, Tang Liu immediately turned his sight back to the puddle of pus on the ground. He stood there quietly waiting, staring at the pool of blood for half an hour. He looked at Xinian, who had recondensed into human form from the blood, and smiled as if he had expected it. He lowered his head slightly, closed his eyes, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. When he looked up and opened his eyes again, the area around his left eye socket was already covered with the green magic patterns, and his left eye began to emit an ominous green light. He stared at Xinian quietly. Xinian felt very angry. Because he actually died at the hands of a young boy, and he also lost a precious head soul bone for this. How could he feel good about this? But at the same time as being angry, he also felt deep fear. That kid called Tang San, is his character really just that of a 14-year-old child? Obviously, he was not affected by the illusion at all, but he did not reveal any flaws from beginning to end. Even if he created the scene of killing Tang Liu, the kid he hated and feared, and Wang Xianwu and Xiao Wu through the illusion, it only made Tang San even more angry. But even so, Tang San did not show that he still had the ability to resist, but waited until the last moment, the moment when he was most relaxed, and then gave him a fatal blow. If he had not had a piece of top-grade trunk bone given to him by the Spirit Hall, he would have really died here today. Although his heart was full of hatred and unwillingness, he also knew that now was not the time to take revenge. Not only because Tang San was probably back in Shrek Academy now, it was not convenient to do it, but he was also afraid that Tang San would hide him again. Then he would really die. So after destroying the surrounding vegetation in anger, he quickly rushed to the foothold of Kanghu Academy in Xiandao City. When he returned to the foothold of Kanghu Academy, he happened to meet the students of Kanghu Academy who had returned from the game, so he asked, "Have you finished the game?" The young man who led the team nodded. "What's the result?" Xinian said with a gloomy face. He had already decided that if these little bastards lost the game, he would use the illusion to punish them severely. "Of course we won, Teacher Xinian," the team leader replied. Xinian was a little surprised, and he felt that his mood had finally improved. "Really? That's not bad. By the way, who are your opponents today?" "It's Purple Star Academy, Teacher Xinian, so it's them." "No wonder you won." After all, he knew that there would be a competition between the Four Elements Academy today, and they had lost to the Elephant Armor Academy before. So he was a little worried about facing a Four Elements Academy again this time. "Okay, since we won the game, let's all go and rest now. Keep up the good work in the next games, and remember not to embarrass the academy." Xinian waved his hand and said, "Yes," so the team leader took the team members to rest. Chapter 134, Resurrection from the Dead. After watching them return to their respective lounges, Xinian also turned around and left, and then headed all the way to the Spirit Hall in Xiandao City. However, what puzzled him was that the streets of Xiandao City he passed by seemed to be a little different from what he remembered. But thinking carefully, the last time he came to Xiandao City was a long time ago, and he didn't wander around Xiandao City this time, so it's not too strange that there are some changes now. He came to the Spirit Hall according to the route he remembered, and then found that the Spirit Hall in Xiandao City was more magnificent than what he remembered. He was a little surprised. So the foundation of the Spirit Hall expanded so quickly? How many years have it been? The Spirit Hall has expanded again. As expected, Bidong is worthy of the name of the Pope. He really has some good means. Thinking that the Pope is still waiting for him in the Pope's palace, Xinian's heart can't help but be hot. After all, His Holiness the Pope is not only powerful, but also very beautiful. Besides, the Pope summoned him this time to entrust him with a top-grade trunk bone with life-saving soul skills. How could he not be excited? He looked at a bird's-eye view of Xiandao City posted on the street before entering the main entrance of the Pope's palace, as well as the location of the Wuhan Hall, which was obviously larger. He sighed and then walked into the scope of the Pope's palace. First, there was a wide square. The annual finals of the All-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy Fighting Soul Competition were held here. Walking straight into the square, the magnificent hall was the Pope's palace. Then, the hall on the hill in the distance was another important place in the Wuhan Hall, the Elder Hall, which was on par with the Pope's palace. It is said that there is a 99 level, titled Douluo, who has reached the top of the human race, living there. 99 levels, that is an existence that he can only look up to throughout his life. Xinian looked at the palace with awe. He then retracted his gaze and quickened his pace towards the Pope's palace. The guards let him pass after seeing him, probably because His Holiness had informed him in advance. He nodded to the guards and walked into the Pope's palace. He saw the man sitting high on the Pope's throne at a glance. The aura of a man who had been in power for a long time, the kind of pressure that made people want to bow down at a glance. So he immediately knelt on one knee, clenched his right hand into a fist in front of his left chest, bowed his head and said respectfully, "Greetings, Your Holiness, stand up." He heard the voice of His Holiness and couldn't help but tremble all over. But then, he began to curse himself again. How could he be worthy of such a perfect person like His Holiness? How dare he? He immediately suppressed the unspeakable thoughts in his heart and stood up. "Thank you, Your Holiness," he responded. The majestic Pope said him lightly, and then said, "Xinian, do you know the purpose of summoning you this time?" Xinian nodded, his expression and tone were tainted with excitement. "Yes, Your Holiness, I know." The beautiful and charming Pope only gave a small part of his gaze to Xinian, and said, "This soul bone is obtained when I hunted an extremely rare soul beast a few years ago. Its completeness is more than 80%. And it also comes with an extremely powerful life-saving soul skill. I believe you have learned about this information on the way here." Xinian, "Yes, Your Holiness, I know all this. I just don't know why Your Holiness gave me such a precious soul bone." The Pope chuckled, "It's not necessarily a gift. After all, I gave you this soul bone because I want you to do something for me. Besides, I already have the torso bone. Otherwise how could it be your turn to enjoy the benefits of this soul bone?" Xinian flattered, Yes, His Holiness is right. I am grateful for His Holiness' generosity. If His Holiness wants me to do anything, just tell me. I will go through fire and water without hesitation." The Pope chuckled again, his tone carrying a bit of sarcasm. "You don't have to go through fire and water. It's just a small matter. You just need to enter Kanghu Academy, and then lead a team from Kanghu Academy in the next All-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy Fighting Soul Competition, and try to get them a place in the promotion competition." Xinian was stunned for a moment, as if he didn't expect his task to be so simple. However, thinking carefully, this task is not as simple as it sounds. He has heard of Kanghu Academy, an academy that is not even first class. However, there are many first-class colleges in the entire Douluo continent. Excluding those first-class colleges that are not on the same competition area, there are at least 5 first-class colleges that are possible opponents of Kanghu Academy. But every year, except for the Xiandao City Division, the other divisions of the Xiandao Empire only have one spot to participate in the promotion competition. If nothing unexpected happens, Kanghu College will also hold the preliminaries in the Xiandao City Division. If he wants to complete the task, he must make Kanghu College rank in the top 5. This means that Kanghu College must defeat at least one first-class college team. Considering the level of Kanghu College, this is not easy. However, if he just wants to defeat a first-class college team, he is not without a way. He has a method of 7-in-1 combination skills. If he teaches it to Kanghu College, it should allow them to easily defeat a first-class college team. So he immediately agreed. "Don't worry, Your Holiness, I promise to complete the task and will not disappoint you." As soon as he expressed his position, he looked at the Pope eagerly. The Pope smiled contemptuously and said, "If you want to fuse this soul bone, you must first ensure that you can endure inhuman pain, and there is an extremely harsh prerequisite." Xinian immediately said, "Please tell me, Your Holiness. No matter what kind of pain it is, I think I can survive it, okay? However, the only outcome of failure is death. If you regret it now, it's not too late." The Pope's voice was a little lazy, as if he knew that Xinian would choose to give up and felt bored. Xinian took a step forward and said eagerly, "Please tell me, Your Holiness." The Pope may have felt even more bored. She sat up a little straight and raised her left palm. The next moment, a white and transparent spine, like the best white jade, appeared out of thin air and floated above her palm. If you want to fuse this soul bone, you must first dig out your own spine, and make sure you don't die in the process. Can you do it? Chapter 135. The system suddenly came back to life. The Pope leaned forward with his left hand, and then the trunk bone slowly flew towards Xinian. Xinian stretched out his trembling hands and carefully took the trunk bone. He looked at it with fascination, and was also afraid of its fusion conditions. To be honest, after the Pope told him the fusion conditions of this soul bone, Xinian began to back down. But now this soul bone is right in front of him, quietly emitting a kind of bright light. It is like the most perfect work of art in the world, which makes him dazzled and crazy. But the next moment, he found that his treasure soul bone was gradually moving away from him. It seemed that he saw his hesitation, so the Pope decided to take back this soul bone. No, please don't take it. He stretched out his hand, trying to grab the soul bone and keep it. Then he saw the sarcastic expression on the Pope's face. It seemed to tell him, if you want this soul bone, then show your determination. Let me see if you are worthy. Do you really have the courage to own it? Of course I will let you see my determination, Your Holiness. Xinian stared at the soul bone infatuatedly, and then without hesitation, he stretched out his hand to his back. His 10 fingers pierced into the flesh neatly, and then pulled it out fiercely. After throwing the bone away, he fell to the ground, and then a pig-like scream came out of his mouth. But he still had the strength to say, quick, give me the soul bone. The Pope didn't care that the blood flowing out of his body dyed the floor of the Pope's palace red. She laughed. Of course, this soul bone is yours. She raised her hand and waved it gently, and the soul bone flew towards Xinian again. Xinian used all his strength to raise his right hand, trying to touch the soul bone that was getting closer and closer to him. He was eager, greedy, and obsessed to watch the soul bone get closer to him. Finally, his fingertips also touched the soul bone. Then, he watched. The soul bone turned into ashes under his eyes. Disappeared. The expression on his face froze instantly. He screamed the next moment and looked at the Pope in disbelief. He was extremely angry. You lied to me. The Pope laughed loudly, but the voice was no longer the Pope's voice. But it made him feel more familiar. Sorry. He watched the Pope stand up from the high chair. Did I scare you? The Pope's whole body glowed, and then turned into countless light points and scattered. Finally, the person standing there became Tang Liu. Xinian's eyes were about to burst. It's you? Yes, everything became clear. He has been in an illusion all the time. And the funny thing is that he is best at illusions, but he is trapped in it without knowing it. These are all fake. The soul bone is also fake. You don't have that soul bone at all. That soul bone is originally mine, he said with a hideous face, and the whole person turned over, lying on the ground, covered in blood, looking up at Tang Liu with hatred. He looked like a bloody evil ghost crawling out of hell. Or a zombie with half of its body broken and having to crawl on the ground. However, Tang Liu was not afraid of his appearance, and still said with a smile, yes, this is indeed fake, but it is just an illusion projected based on your memory, and then modified your cognition to make you think you are still experiencing this memory. Of course, I made a little modification myself. Xinian continued to lie on the ground. And said viciously, yes, otherwise I would not be like this now. However, since you know everything, then you must also know the function of that soul bone, right? Even if you let me remove my spine through the illusion, as long as I have that soul bone, I will not die. Tang Liu laughed. You said it yourself. I let you remove your spine through the illusion. Then think about it carefully. Where's your soul bone now? Xinian's heart trembled, and his pupils contracted violently. He looked back tremblingly, and then saw a white, transparent jade-like spine. The scene of the Pope's palace around him disappeared at some point, and he was still on the outskirts of Xiandao City, without moving at all. But he had no time to care about these. Now his eyes were only on the soul bone lying quietly on the ground. Even though his blood was all around, the soul bone was not stained at all. Instead, it kept the blood away from the surrounding 5 centimeters. Then, the soul bone flew up by itself. Xinian's eyes followed it and moved around him, and finally landed in the hands of Tang Liu, who was standing not far in front of him. He saw the bright blue light in Tang Liu's eyes, even though the other's eyes were originally that color. Then, he also saw the ball of blue-black light mist covering the palm of Tang Liu's right hand. The reason why you are not dead now is entirely because I am helping you to prolong your life. But now, there is no need for that. I already know all the information I need to know, and I have got what I need now, Tang Liu said, while shaking the trunk bone in his hand. So, you can go now. As soon as the voice fell, the ball of blue-black light mist on Tang Liu's right hand was extinguished. Xinian immediately felt difficulty breathing, and his eyes went dark. He wanted to say something, but he closed his eyes. Tang Liu looked at Xinian, who had completely lost his life, and said, "Thank you for the 2 soul bones you sent me." Then he disappeared in a blue light. At the same time, Xinian's body exploded, and nothing was left. Only the surrounding grass and trees were destroyed. Tang Liu, who had just been teleported back to his dormitory room, was shocked. Because his autistic system was actually resurrected. Up, there was movement. The jade bone of the exiled immortal, incomplete, damaged, was detected. "Do you want to automatically repair it?" Tang Liu said in surprise. "System, are you not autistic anymore?" Then the system immediately replied to him with the same content, and increased the volume, appearing quite impatient, and it seemed that it was still angry. So Tang Liu was very tactful and gave in. "Automatically repair it. The exiled jade bone, incomplete, damaged, is being stored in the host stanchion successfully, and the soul power repair circuit is being established successfully. Repair progress. 0%, remaining repair time, 1 year." As the mechanical sound of the system sounded, Tang Liu felt that part of the soul power in his stanchion was stripped away, and then it seemed to flow into something. The next moment, he felt a flash in front of his eyes, and his consciousness came to a space that was all blue and black. Now, a piece of pure white and transparent spine is quietly suspended in this blue-black space. There are constantly tiny blue-black streams of light flowing towards this spine. When his eyes fall on this spine for a long time, a virtual screen will appear in front of his eyes, with a repair progress and remaining repair time written on it. Guidance completed. After the system said this coldly, it went offline again. "Tang Liu, don't you even explain to him what this bone is?" Small theater, Xinian, covered in blood, lying on the ground, with hateful eyes and a hideous face. "Tang Liu, I want you to die a miserable death." Tang Liu rolled his eyes. "Oh, it's too cliché and too contrived. You're not scared at all." Author silently hugged himself, shivered and cried, I'm scared." Tang Liu, to be honest, when the author wrote there, he suddenly remembered the hidden level in Watch Out Behind You, where the wretched old man who turned into a zombie dragged half of his body towards the heroine. I felt cold all over, especially when there was a large space behind me. I felt terrible. So, I immediately turned around and leaned my back against the wardrobe next to me, which finally made me feel better. Then I remembered that there was a mirror behind the wardrobe door where I was leaning, and I was very scared. Suddenly there was a knocking sound, and then I was dragged in. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136, Acting like a spoiled child is like dressing up as a woman. There are only zeros and countless times. After Tang San returned to Shrek Academy, he rested for a night. In the morning of the next day, he found the master and told him everything that happened yesterday. He also showed the soul bone that Xinian dropped to the master. You can keep your original heart in front of the soul bone and not absorb it directly. It's good. And the soul bone should be gem type, suitable for auxiliary and illusion type soul masters, not suitable for you to absorb. The master handed the soul bone back to Tang San and asked him to keep it. Illusion type? Wouldn't it be suitable for Liu? Doesn't he happen to have an illusion type external soul bone? Tang San said. The master thought more about it and said, that's right, go call Liu and see if he wants this soul bone. Tang San immediately went back to the dormitory and called Tang Liu, and then told him about the soul bone. As the master expected, Tang Liu looked at the soul bone with extreme disdain and said, no, this soul bone is not old and complete, and it doesn't suit me at all. Even though he expected it, the master still felt a little speechless. The soul bone that is hard to come by in the hands of other soul masters is not worthy of Tang Liu. However, this soul bone should be quite suitable for Rongrong. Why not give it to her? Tang Liu said, Uncle, you let my brother keep the soul bone, Is it so that he can exchange it for a more suitable one in the future? After seeing the master nod, Tang Liu continued, there is no need for that. With the quality of this soul bone, it is estimated that it will not be able to be exchanged for a better soul bone in the future. And isn't there a reward of 3 soul bones for the champion of this competition? Among them, the soul bone of 10,000 years is a spiritual one, which is very suitable for my brother. The master and Tang San looked at each other, and then looked at him. The master, how did you know? Tang Liu winked at him quietly. I heard it from a senior. The master understood immediately. Oh, okay, then this news should be correct. Tang San was very confused, looking into Tang Liu's eyes and said, Xiao Liu, who is that senior? It's Rongrong's father. Tang Liu blinked and said. Tang San felt a little strange. Then you can just say it directly. Why do you call Uncle Ning senior? Tang Liu, well, I just don't like him a little bit. Then Tang San didn't ask any more questions. Okay then. But Uncle Ning is actually a very good person. Don't have any prejudice against him. Don't worry, I don't have any prejudice against him. I just don't like his actions of trying to win you over everywhere. The more Tang Liu talked, the more he felt it made sense. His brother can only be his Tang family, and he must not go to the 7 treasures glazed tile sect. Tang San was immediately at a loss whether to laugh or cry. Don't worry, and don't you know me? How could I go to the 7 treasures glazed tile sect? He was still planning to rebuild the Tang sect. How could he join another sect? The Grand Master couldn't stand it anymore and said, okay, that's it. Don't mention the soul bone matter to anyone. Also, you don't need to participate in today's competition, Xiao-san. Just say that you had a new breakthrough in yesterday's training, but you were too hasty and had some symptoms of being possessed. You need to recuperate well and can't participate. Your opponents today are not strong. Even if you don't play, they can easily win. Tang San was about to agree, but Tang Liu stopped him with disapproval, saying, Uncle, you want to create an alibi for my brother, right? But the best way is not to not play, but to let him continue to play. Look, if someone finds out in the future that Xinian's death is related to my brother, or even finds out that Xinian was killed by my brother, and then they find that my brother did not show up the day after Xinian's death, what will they think? Tang Liu didn't wait for the Grand Master to give the answer, he said it himself. They will think this is normal, because my brother is just a soul master. If a soul sect kills a soul saint, it is normal for them not to show up the next day, because they will think that my brother was injured in the battle with Xinian, and then he was lucky enough to kill Xinian. So they will be more determined that my brother must have killed Xinian. But if my brother still participated in the competition intact the next day, what will they think? They will think that this is normal. Yes, how could a small soul sect kill a soul saint? Then they will dispel their doubts, because it is impossible for a soul sect to kill a soul saint. It's that simple. Why is that? Tang Liu sneered. This is their inherent concept. They only believe in strength, not in the weak defeating the strong. Tang San looked at the master, teacher, obviously asking about his attitude. The master looked at Tang Liu with satisfaction, and then said, Xiao Liu is right. But Xiao-san, after the battle yesterday, can your current physical condition still support a game? This is easy. My brother isn't seriously injured anyway. He just consumed too much soul and mental energy. A Haolan recovery can solve the problem, Tang Liu said with a smile, and then threw a free Haolan recovery on Tang San to help him get back to his best condition. Tang San also smiled and said to the master, Teacher, I'm much better now. The master nodded with a smile in his eyes. Okay, let's prepare for the game now. In the following days, Shrek did not encounter any difficult academy teams and maintained its winning streak. Similarly, the other 4 teams that maintained their winning streak were the remaining 4 elemental academy teams besides the Elephant Armor sect, namely, Divine Wind, Thunder, Blazing Fire and Sky Water. Until the 11th round of Shrek Academy's competition, their opponent this time was Blazing Fire Academy. This meant that the winning streak of both sides would have to be ended by the other. After learning about the Soul Master pairing of Blazing Fire Academy, the Master suggested that Tang San should not use the original team this time, or should just give up this game. However, Tang San finally decided to play with the original team, but was then disrupted by Tang Liu. I want to play, I want to play this game, Tang San said helplessly. Don't worry, we may not lose. Why do you want to play? Tang Liu said seriously. No, I'm not afraid that you will lose. I just want to go up and disgust them. Tang San, Tang Liu, If you're afraid that I'll reveal too much of my strength, I want you to promise that I'll only use one spirit skill, okay? Tang San looked at the master for help, but the master turned his head away, as if it had nothing to do with him. So Tang San looked at Tang Liu again, and was about to speak, when he heard Tang Liu suddenly use his cute little baby voice. Okay, brother. Tang San took positive and infinite points of true critical damage and died immediately. He immediately said, okay, then you play in this round. Everyone, take a look at the comment section. Chapter 137, Breath of the Void and Fire Resistance Ring. Tang Liu smiled after getting the consent, and then looked at Jiangsu. Jiangsu, I will replace you this time. Jiangsu smiled friendly, and was not angry because she could not play. Okay, then you can replace me this round. To be honest, it is actually very tiring to play so many days in a row. Now it is just right to take a break. Wouldn't it be nice to go shopping and buy some clothes and bags? Then Tang Liu looked at the others. Don't worry about anything after you go on the court, just attack. Control is left to my brother, and the rest is left to me. Soon it was time to play against Blazing Academy. Because these two teams have been winning since the start of the game, this game between the two sides was once again placed on the most central stage. After entering the field, the 7 players of Shrek saw the 7 people from Blazing Academy, and the tallest and most outstanding girl Ho Wu among them. The 7 people from Blazing Academy immediately focused their attention on Tang Liu, who was standing at the end of the team. At that moment, their expressions changed and they looked solemn. They just happened to watch the match between Shrek Academy and Xiangjia Academy, so they knew that this auxiliary spirit master with 2 10,000-year spirit rings was not simple. He was an auxiliary spirit master who caused Hu Yanli to suffer a great loss alone. What's more, he had 2 10,000-year spirit rings. So even if Tang Liu was just an auxiliary spirit master, the 7 people from Blazing Fire Academy did not dare to underestimate him. But no matter how serious they are in their hearts, they must also despise their opponents on the surface. They cannot fall behind in this aspect, as it concerns the face of their academy. So Ho Wuxiang, the captain of Blazing Academy, looked at Im Yubei and said, you are very strong, but unfortunately, your control-type spirit master and auxiliary-type spirit master are both plant-type spirits, so you have no chance of winning. Your winning streak ends here. Im Yubei smiled and said sincerely, no, you are wrong. Who told you that all plants are afraid of fire? And we have to compete to know who will win or lose. I just think it is more likely that our Shrek Academy will end your Blazing Academy's winning streak. Im Yubei didn't know whether Tang San's blue-silver grass spirit was afraid of fire, but he knew that Tang Liu's void spirit blue-silver emperor was not afraid of fire, and as long as Tang Liu attached the void spirit control to Tang San, then Tang San's blue-silver grass would not be afraid of fire. So they, Shrek, will win in the end. I hope your strength is as strong as your confidence, Ho Wuxiang snorted and said. Then, the referee announced the start of the match. As soon as the referee finished speaking, the strong attack spirit masters of both sides rushed towards each other. There were 3 strong attack spirit masters from Shrek Academy, Im Yubei, Tai Long and Wang Yuan, and Ho Wuxiang, the unicorn fire dragon from Blazing Academy, and the fire leopard spirit master. Among them, Im Yubei and Ho Wuxiang collided alone, while Tai Long and Wang Yuan faced the fire leopard spirit master at the same time, and they had the advantage of 2 against 1. In addition, Xiao Wu and Jingling, who were also from the Agile Attack Department, approached the 2 Agile Attack Spirit Masters of the Fire Crane Spirit from the Blazing Academy from the side. Within a few seconds of the start of the match, several competitions took place on the field. The only ones who remained silent were Tang San, Tang Liu, and Ho Wu. They all just released their spirits and did not take the next step. However, Tang Liu's 1 yellow, 1 purple and 2 black spirit rings have always been the most eye-catching in the entire field. In fact, when Tang Liu appeared on the competition stage, the audience cheered. The 2 auxiliary spirit masters of Blazing Academy, whose martial spirits were Mars, were constantly releasing spirit skills to assist their spirit masters. They saw that Fire Leopard Spirit Master was besieged by Tai Long and Wang Yuan, so the amplification spirit skills fell on Fire Leopard Spirit Master. The 2 assistants used their spirit skills together, and Fire Leopard Spirit Master temporarily forced Tai Long and Wang Yuan, whose spirit power was no less than his, to retreat. Then, Fire Leopard Spirit Master immediately rushed towards Wang Yuan, who is relatively weaker among the 2. At this time, Tang San moved. His blue-silver grass instantly wrapped around the waists of all Shrek students. With a slight movement of his mind, blue-silver grass pulled Dai Mu Bei, Tai Long and Wang Yuan back quickly. The root of the three people's retreat just happened to surround Ho Wusheng in the middle. It was the trick that Tang San had used to kill many academy leaders before. But Ho Wu was also waiting for this trick of his. Because everything that Blazing Academy had done from the beginning of this match till now was to set a trap for Tang San, just to let him use the blue-silver grass to gather Dai Mu Bei, Tai Long and Wang Yuan, who were closest to him, together, and then she would use her third spirit skill to resist the fire ring and bounce Dai Mu Bei and the other two away. In this way, the person surrounded became Tang San. And Tang San had to face 7 people from Blazing Academy at the same time. As long as they took the time to deal with Tang San, the backbone of Shrek Academy, it would only be a matter of time to win this match. Although Tang Liu's appearance was a little surprising to them, it was not a problem. After all, no matter how good Tang Liu's spirit ring configuration was, he was only an auxiliary spirit master. At that time, it would not be difficult for the 7 people from Blazing Academy to cooperate with him. However, although Blazing Academy's plan was good, they overlooked the most important point. Just as Ho Wu's third spirit ring shone, and the circle of fiery red light rapidly spread outward, a huge, illusory and transparent blue-silver emperor rose from the ground behind Dai Mu Bei. The next moment, a circle of blue cloud-like halo was released from the blue-silver emperor, spreading faster than the fire resistance ring. Then, the two halos collided in the air. The fiery red fire resistance ring disappeared without a trace, but a blue spirit breath was still spreading outward. The people of Blazing Fire Academy were shocked. Because, except for the 2 auxiliary spirit masters, the other 5 people found out at the same time that they could not release their spirit skills. Among them, Ho Wu was the worst. By studying the battle between Shrek Academy and Xiangjia Academy, they guessed that Tang Liu's 4th spirit skill should have the effect of a forbidden spirit skill, and now it seems to be true. However, what they didn't expect was that Tang Liu's 4th spirit skill could actually directly eliminate the influence of her fire resistance ring. What is that? It's purification. His 4th spirit skill actually has the effect of purification. This is something they never expected. So they immediately put them in an extremely unfavorable situation. Dai Mu Bei smiled, and then immediately attacked Ho Wusheng together with Tai Long and Wang Yuan. Ho Wusheng couldn't use his soul skills now, so he could only rely on his physical fitness after being possessed by his martial spirit. But he couldn't withstand the full force of the 3 strong attacking soul masters. Even though the 2 auxiliary soul masters of Blazing Fire Academy immediately used all their soul skills on Ho Wusheng, their soul skills were all for increasing attack power, and basically had no effect on defense. So the referee immediately intervened and announced that Ho Wusheng was out. Everyone, please take a look at the comment section. Chapter 138 Ho Wu, damn, I'm crazy. The next moment that the Fire Leopard Soul Master and Ho Wu found that their soul skills could not be used, they immediately rushed towards Ho Wusheng, trying to save Ho Wusheng as much as possible. The 2 Fire Crane Soul Masters also wanted to come to support, but they were helpless and could not use their soul skills. They were also held back by Xiao Wu and Jingling. Ho Wu and the Fire Leopard Soul Master were not known for their speed. If the Fire Crane Soul Master came to support, it would be possible to save Ho Wusheng, but since they were too busy, the responsibility naturally fell on Ho Wu and the Fire Leopard Soul Master. So the result is obvious. Even though the Fire Leopard Soul Master was closer, he still couldn't catch up. Ho Wusheng was immediately eliminated under the intervention of the referee. At this time, the effect of Tang Liu's 4th soul skill also passed. After feeling the connection between her and the soul ring reappeared, Ho Wu immediately used the 3rd soul skill again. She didn't believe that Tang Liu's 10,000-year-old 4th soul skill could be used continuously. But the fact is, it really can. Ho Wu watched helplessly as her resistance fire ring was once again wiped out by the mist halo of the breath of the void, and then she lost contact with her soul skills again. She looked at Tang Liu behind Shrek with anger, and her eyes seemed to want to stab him directly. But the next moment, her sight was blocked by the blue-silver cage that rose out of thin air. But before being raised by the blue-silver cage, he saw Tang Liu smiled provocatively at him, so his anger in his heart became even stronger. Tang Liu, actually, I really smile very ordinary and friendly. Although Ho Wu was angry, she quickly thought of the next response method. Tang Liu's fourth soul skill can purify the soul skills of control effects, so as long as she uses offensive soul skills to get rid of Tang Liu in one fell swoop after the prohibition effect of this soul skill ends, then their Blazing Academy still has a chance of winning. But this is not easy. She needs to grasp the timing, a time when Tang Liu is too late to respond and the other people in Shrek are too late to rescue. But how could she create such an opportunity? First of all, someone had to hold back the other 6 Shrek Academy members, and then someone had to attract Tang Liu's attention directly, and then she would release the final attack to get Tang Liu out. But this was almost impossible. First of all, they had one less person than Shrek Academy, and the one missing was Ho Wuxiang, the main force of their Blazing Academy, not to mention that there were 2 auxiliary spirit masters in their team who had almost no combat power. On the other hand, there were 6 people in Shrek Academy who had the ability to threaten them, and, based on the battle with Xiangjia Academy that day, Tang Liu's own combat power should not be underestimated. Their teacher had guessed that Tang Liu's first spirit skill should be a spirit skill similar to nothingness, the second spirit skill should be invisibility, the third spirit skill is currently unknown, and the fourth spirit skill, now she knew, was a purifying and sealing spirit skill. As for the ability to teleport and transfer teammates that day, their teacher believed that it should be the power of the spirit bone. Even if Tang San was excluded because his blue-silver grass would be restrained by their flames, they still had to hold back 6 people. But even so, they had no way to defend against Tang Liu's teleportation ability. And they had to be careful that Tang San warned his teammates. There were too many factors to consider. So the more Ho Wu thought about it, the more desperate she felt. This was simply an unsolvable dead end. How could their Blazing Academy win? But she really didn't want to accept it. Such a failure was really too pathetic. 5 seconds passed, and after Ho Wu felt that her connection with her spirit ring had returned again, she immediately used her spirit skills to break the blue-silver prison that bound her. But when she looked up, she found that a large number of white tiger meteor showers were falling towards her. So as a last resort, Ho Wu once again released the resist fire ring to bounce off all the white tiger meteor showers that were coming towards her. This time, Tang Liu did not release his fourth soul skill to eliminate Ho Wu's resistance fire ring, which made Ho Wu happy, thinking that Tang Liu could no longer release the fourth soul skill. But the next moment, she was slapped in the face. Because when her resistance fire ring was about to touch the Shrek team members, the huge blue-silver emperor appeared again, which made Ho Wu discouraged. Moreover, Tang Liu's breath of the spirit not only made her feel sick, but also covered the entire competition stage, so there was no accident, and her soul skill was banned again. Now it seems that Tang Liu will only choose to take action when her resistance fire ring will affect the Shrek students. So as long as her resistance fire ring is not used on Shrek students, then Tang Liu will not use his fourth soul skill. It may also be because the consumption of the 10,000-year soul skill is relatively large, so he will only use it at the critical moment. She can use this point, and it may become the key to their comeback. However, after thinking about this, she not only did not feel happy at all, but was full of depression. She always felt that Shrek Academy was doing this on purpose, or that Tang Liu was doing this on purpose. He firmly controlled the rhythm in their own hands in order to put psychological pressure on them and make them admit defeat on their own initiative. But this was impossible. As long as the world was not dead, they would never surrender. At this time, she also took the time to look at the situation on the field. Then she found that another strong attacking spirit master of their Chihou, the fire leopard spirit master, was also eliminated. After a brief surprise, she also figured out what was going on. It seems that during the 5 seconds when she was trapped in the blue-silver cage, Shrek Academy was not without any movement, because they worked together to eliminate one of their main players again. This is normal. If Shrek Academy chose to do nothing in those 5 seconds, she would think that Shrek Academy was deliberately looking down on their Chihou, just to deliberately play tricks on them. But now she is still very angry, because if it were her, she would definitely gather everyone's strength to get rid of her control spirit master in those 5 seconds. As we all know, an excellent control spirit master is the soul of the team. If she first solved the control spirit master in the team battle, then it was equivalent to winning half of the game, not to mention that she was the last spirit master in their blazing team. If Shrek Academy chose to solve her first within those 5 seconds, then there would be no suspense in this game, and Shrek Academy would definitely win. But they actually chose to solve the fire leopard spirit master instead of her. What are they doing? They are looking down on her. They are playing a joke on their blazing academy. She has such a bad temper. How can she tolerate this? Chapter 139 Tang Liu, what just flew by? Maybe the heavens also felt that Shrek was too much to bear, so they decided to help her. Otherwise, how could she see Tang Liu suddenly turn around without any defense, exposing his back completely in front of her? Moreover, Tang Liu was standing at the back of Shrek, and no one on the other side paid attention to him. What's more, the 5-second soul skill ban time had just passed. Ho Wu was delighted. Good opportunity. So he immediately used his most powerful trump card. Her 4th soul skill after the ring fusion, Fire Dance Shining Sun. The dazzling orange-red fireball flew towards the back of the Shrek team like a small sun. Ho Wu threw the skill very smartly. She didn't throw it directly at Tang Liu, because if she did, the people of Shrek Academy would definitely be able to easily see her intention, and then take countermeasures in time, and then her plan would be ruined. So she specially chose a position so that she, Tang San, and Tang Liu were in a straight line. In that case, in the eyes of others, her attack would be like going to Tang San. She bet that Tang San definitely thought so. As a control-type spirit master, he couldn't be unaware of his importance to the team. So he would definitely dodge. But he would dodge, but Tang Liu wouldn't. By then, even if Tang San found out, it would be too late. The reality was exactly as she imagined. Tang San really dodged her Ho Wu Yao Yang quickly and didn't choose a head-on collision. Because a head-on collision is undoubtedly an extremely unwise move. When they were already sure of winning, if he chose to resist Ho Wu's desperate full-strength attack head-on, even if his blue-silver grass was fireproof, the final result would be that he might still be injured, or even lose his ability to fight, and it was not impossible for him to be directly judged out. The battlefield changes rapidly, and any mistake in one step may reverse the situation. In order to ensure Shrek's victory, he must avoid any choice that will lead to failure as much as possible. So he had to dodge Ho Wu's attack. Ho Wu's attack was not difficult to dodge, and dodging it directly would not cause any loss to them, so why didn't he dodge? After using Ghost Shadow to quickly dodge, Tang San subconsciously looked at Ho Wu Yao Yang flying by. This was also a habitual action, observing the location of the enemy's attack and judging whether it would affect his side. These are what an excellent control-type spirit master should do. And it was at this glance that Tang San discovered that Ho Wu Yao Yang flew straight towards Tang Liu, who had his back to them. And Tang Liu seemed to be unaware of this. Tang San instantly figured out Ho Wu's purpose. While secretly shouting that it was not good, he immediately wanted to use the blue-silver grass to pull Tang Liu away, and at the same time shouted loudly, "Xiao Liu, get out of the way," but it was too late. Ho Wu Yao Yang's flying speed was very fast. After passing Tang San, it was almost behind Tang Liu in the blink of an eye. Tang San immediately rushed towards Tang Liu, wondering if he could protect Tang Liu if he arrived before Ho Wu Yao Yang. Ho Wu looked at Tang Liu, who was about to be swallowed by Ho Wu Yao Yang, and couldn't help but smile. But the next moment, they saw Tang San stopped. Ho Wu's smile froze on her face. Because at the moment when Ho Wu Yao Yang was about to touch Tang Liu seemed to finally sense something was wrong. So he quickly turned around and stretched out his hand to slap him casually. Then Ho Wu Yao Yang was blown away. Ho Wu's eyes widened and exclaimed, "How is this possible?" Tang Liu's hand still had a blue-black light that had not completely faded, and he seemed to be a little confused. What just flew over Tang San? His mouth twitched slightly, and then he said, "Nothing." Tang Liu did not doubt him, nodded, and said, "Okay. Then let's finish the game quickly and go back." "Okay." Tang San sighed helplessly. "Okay, then let's finish it quickly." Tang Liu nodded, then turned around, looked up in one direction, raised his right hand above his head and waved, as if he was saying hello to someone. Although Tang San was curious, he was still in the game, so he just glanced and saw nothing. It was the same when he played against Xiangjia Academy. So who was Xiao Liu saying hello to? Ho Wu was deflated after being shocked by Tang Liu's bare-handed slapping of her Ho Wu Yao Yang. She looked particularly discouraged. How could she fight a complete cheater? After using the fusion rings Ho Wu Yao Yang, her entire state was at its lowest point. The rest of her team wasn't much better either. Failure was inevitable. However, when she was bound by Tang San's blue-silver grass, she still tried to use her nearly exhausted spirit power to activate her first spirit skill, wanting to burn the blue-silver grass and retain the last bit of divinity. Then she despairingly discovered that the blue silver grass, under her flames, was actually intact. Not moving at all. As if seeing her confusion, Tang San finally said, "Sorry, my blue silver grass is immune to fire, Ho Wu, damn it." Ho Wu felt that she was so angry that her chest had grown a size larger, and she almost vomited blood. "Can't you Shrek guys afford to play? Every day, you choose cheaters to compete with us. Are you still human?" In short, Shrek won another game easily, completing its first 11-game winning streak since the start of the game. Shrek Academy was overjoyed, but Blazing Academy was in a low mood. They didn't think they were worse than Shrek Academy, but this time, they were really convinced. Because of Tang Liu. Just because of his appearance, Shrek won the game as if it was a piece of cake. But they couldn't help but think, if Tang Liu didn't use his fourth soul skill, would they have a chance? But they knew it was impossible. Because the soul skills belonged to others, why wouldn't others use them? What's more, Tang Liu still had 3 soul skills left to use, as well as the unpredictable teleportation ability. In other words, Tang Liu didn't use his full strength in today's game. He only used his 4th soul skill from beginning to end. However, even so, Tang Liu, who only used 1 soul skill, still let Shrek beat them without any resistance. If he had gone all out, would they have lost faster today? And that Tang San. His blue silver grass was actually fire immune? Is that really still blue silver grass? What kind of monster academy have we encountered? The students of Blazing Fire Academy looked at each other, and saw such a sentence on each other's bitter faces. But after a brief loss, their eyes lit up again. Although their talents are not as strong as those of Shrek Academy. But they are still the proud children of heaven. Being inferior to others now does not mean that it will be the same in the future. Soul Masters will never lack the motivation to keep moving forward. Small theater, Ho Wu Yaoang, Tang Liu, waving his claws vigorously. "Dad, I'm here, can you see me?" Chapter 140. The 12th round ends. After the match with Blazing Academy, another day passed, and then Shrek Academy welcomed their 12th battle. This time it was against Kanghu Academy. Tang Liu, who was familiar with the plot, knew very well what would happen next, so he once again asked to play in the game. It was not that he couldn't stand what Tang San did to the 7 people from Kanghu Academy in the original work. In fact, he wanted to play himself, to give those 7 people a more ruthless wave. In the original work, Tang San used the purple extreme demon eye of the mustard seed realm to break the 7-in-1 martial soul combination skill of Kanghu Academy, the 7 Azurus illusion, and then directly used the soul skill to backfire, turning the 7 people from Kanghu Academy into idiots. It was also because of this that the investigation of the organizing committee of the competition was led later, giving the Platinum Bishop Cirrus of the Spirit Hall an aggressive reason to make Shrek Academy lose the qualification to participate. Fortunately, the master arrived in time with the elder order given by Tang Hao, saving the situation that was about to overturn. Tang Liu wanted to go on the field, not only because he wanted to give Kanghu Academy a more ruthless blow, but also because he wanted to avoid this situation from happening. He had many ways to make the people of Kanghu Academy end up in a worse situation than becoming idiots, and no one would be able to detect the clues afterwards. Whether it was the psychedelic gaze or the Hyaolin mark, they could easily do this. But Tang Liu did not get admission this time. Because this time it was the master who personally rejected him. Even if he acted like a spoiled child, it would be useless. Tang Liu couldn't help but doubt his own lethality. Did he grow up? So the skill of acting like a spoiled child was useless? Tang Liu sighed and felt melancholy, and didn't even hear what the master said. The reason why the master rejected him was this: it's not a good thing for you to play too frequently, it will reduce the competition's ability to hone them. You know, the reason I brought you to the competition this time is that I hope you can experience the feeling of being in trouble, the feeling of trying to break the trouble by relying on everything you have, and learn to give up appropriately. You will eventually leave us old people and make your own way. By then, there will no longer be someone outside who can guide you all the time, and you will have to rely on yourself most of the time. We train you wholeheartedly, not to raise a bunch of useless people who retreat when faced with difficulties. Tang Liu felt a little regretful, but still replied, "Okay, I won't participate in this game." So everything developed according to the original work. Kanghu Academy used the 7-in-1 combination skill, but it was broken by Tang San soon afterwards. Shrek's students, except Tang San, pretended to be unconscious. The 7 students of Tang Hao Academy all lay on the ground unconscious. On the entire competition stage, only Tang San, with blood on the corner of his mouth, stood there weakly. The referee announced the victory of Shrek Academy with a trembling voice. After a short silence, the audience also cheered extremely warmly. They were not as knowledgeable as the master, nor as experienced as Ning Fengzi and others. So they only knew that Shrek Academy once again defeated the strong with the weak, and defeated the 7-person martial soul fusion skill that was praised as a divine skill on the Douluo continent. They now had only one sentence in their hearts. Shrek, awesome, broken voice. So they shouted and cheered without reservation, watching the 7 people of Shrek supporting each other and stumbling out of the competition stage. In their view, Shrek had the heroic spirit of a battlefield hero who had gone through untold hardships and overcome numerous tribulations to finally win a complete victory. Therefore, the admiration and respect in their hearts were like the water of the largest river in the Shangdao Empire. Look at how thick the filter is. After the game, professionals immediately went on stage to check the situation of the 7 people from Tang Hao Academy. The final result was that there was no problem. It was because of the backlash of the soul skills. This is normal. It is a combination of 7 skills. Any mistake will lead to the backlash of the soul skills. The difference lies in the severity of the backlash of the soul skills. The lightest is just a little internal injury. After a few days of recuperation, you can be full of energy again. The worst case is death. Now it seems that the 7 people from Tang Hao Academy are still relatively lucky. Although they fell into coma and may become idiots in the future, they at least saved their lives. After Tang San and his friends returned to the rest area, Flanders asked Master Liu Erlong to take the others back to the academy first. He took Tang San with him to prepare for the investigation of the organizing committee of the competition. They didn't mean to blame Tang San at all, because they thought the same as Tang San. Now the little monsters in their school have Tang San, who can restrain the illusion of Tang Hao Academy, but what if Tang San is not around in the future? What will they do then? I'm afraid they won't be so lucky to survive in the illusion. So we should cut the grass and root it out to prevent future troubles. They especially support it. And aren't those 7 people dead? Anyway, we don't know anything. They didn't control their 7-in-1 combination skills well, and now they blame us when something goes wrong? Anyway, we don't know anything, and we won't ask anything. But if you insist on putting the blame on us, then we will make a fuss. This is the way Flanders taught Tang San to deal with it. In short, there are 4 words. I don't know. From this, we can see how strong the influence of Shrek Academy in the future on Douluo continent is. In the 2 sessions of the All-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy Fighting Soul competition that Liu Hao and his team participated in, they were seriously injured on the competition stage many times, and even directly killed the contestants from the Sun Moon Empire and the Holy Spirit sect. But what was the result? In the competition, everyone was competing with all their strength, and it was easy to lose control, so casualties were inevitable. If we really want to investigate the responsibility, it was because the referee was not strong enough to prevent casualties in time. Then, who spoke up? You can only swallow this breath, because Shrek Academy is really too powerful. Of course. Some of this was due to the prejudice and open and secret struggles of the people of Douluo continent against the Sun Moon Empire and the evil soul masters, because in the end, those who died were from the Sun Moon Empire and the Holy Spirit sect. But the most important reason is still the strength of Shrek Academy. When the stick in your hand hurts enough to hit someone, you have enough say, and those people with ulterior motives dare not do anything shameful in front of you. Because as long as you are human, there are very few who are not afraid of pain. Or, as long as you are human, there must be something he is afraid of or dreads. Chapter 141 One Man Against a Group. Tang Liu knew that his words could only scare an idiot like Shi Nian, but they were not good enough in front of real professionals, so he did not participate in the investigation of the organizing committee of the competition. He chose to go back to the academy with the main group to rest for a while, and then wait for the results. When Tang Liu finished a round of practice, he got the news that the investigation had ended. Sure enough, there was no accident. In the end, the master used the token given by his father to completely solve the matter. Speaking of which, Tang Liu still knew it from his Aunt Liu Erlong. Because after the master solved the matter, she exploded. She thought that the token was given to the master by Bibi Dong, and now the master must still have contact with Bibi Dong, and the master still couldn't forget her. In short, Teacher Erlong said that she was jealous. Tang Liu, who was regarded as an emotional trash can, naturally understood that she wanted to ask him for some tricks to make the master completely forget his feelings for Bibi Dong. Tang Liu sighed at the time and said, "And this is impossible. If you want your uncle to forget Bibi Dong, either let time slowly wash it away, or let me help you to secretly erase his memory. Will you choose the second one?" Liu Erlong shook her head vigorously. Although it was a bit painful to say it, it was indeed unfair to the master to erase his and Bibi Dong's memories without the master's consent. And if the master knew about it in the future, it was estimated that all the results she had worked so hard for would be lost. She knew what kind of person the master was. He absolutely could not tolerate such a thing happening. Not even her. However, at the end of the original novel, what the master did at the end was indeed a bit scumbag. When Bibi Dong died, he showed deep love for Bibi Dong, in Tang Liu's opinion, but he turned a deaf ear to his current lover Liu Erlong. Maybe it was just as Bibi Dong said. She herself was no longer clean, so she couldn't be with the master to dirty him. The people of the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex clan looked down on him, excluded him, and refused to recognize him because of his martial spirit, so she destroyed the entire Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex clan. What about you, Liu Erlong? What did you do? But this has nothing to do with the master. Bibi Dong can use this to deal with Liu Erlong. But the master cannot and should not treat Liu Erlong like that. Who is not sincere? If you still have feelings for your ex, then please don't delay another girl who loves you deeply. What's more, she is a woman who has wasted a lot of her life on you. A woman who is no longer young. Tang Liu thought about it and said to Liu Erlong, however, although it is unlikely for uncle to forget Bibi Dong, we can break through in another direction. It's just that all this depends on your choice, and, Liu Erlong said hopefully, what should I do? Tang Liu looked at her quietly. Wait, in the next 2 games, the master decided to give up in order to prove that his students were indeed seriously injured. However, when he knew that Shrek's opponents in the next 2 games were Kamikaze Academy and Thunder Academy, Tang Liu could not sit still. He ran to the master with great anticipation. Uncle, I'll go alone. Anyway, you are going to give up these 2 games, right? Even if I lose, it won't affect me. So just let me go alone. In the end, the master couldn't resist his soft and hard nagging, and reluctantly agreed. But he still said with a straight face, you can go on the court, but you must win for me. You can't play in the preliminaries after these 2 games, Tang Liu, don't worry. If I can't beat them, I'll throw a psychedelic gaze at them, and I guarantee that they will lie down immediately. The master couldn't help laughing. When the game time came, Tang Liu ran to the game alone. He didn't wear the dark green uniform that Shrek later unified, but changed into his own blue and black uniform. Then, the only people who came to watch the game were the master and Liu Erlong, 2 teachers, and Oscar and Ma Hongjin, 2 idle people. It's hard for our Shrek Academy not to be famous now. Oscar looked at Tang Liu who entered the arena and couldn't help laughing. One person taking on a team alone, this operation is not bad. Ma Hongjin also smiled, his eyes full of expectation. Oscar, I wonder what the people from the Kamikaze Academy on the opposite side will think when they see that Liu is the only one going up on our side. Ma Hongjin, come to think of it, before we played against Tang Hao Academy, what was the captain of the Kamikaze Academy called? I think it was Feng Zia Ocean, right? Did he come over to cheer us on? Yeah, it seems like that's really the case. At this time, Liu Erlong suddenly interrupted them. Okay, you 2 little guys should be quiet now. Liu is about to start the game. Watch me carefully. Oscar, I called you here not just to watch the game. Liu may find it difficult to fight 7 people alone, and he may get injured, so you must have your recovery sausage ready by then. Oscar smiled and said, Teacher Erlong, don't worry. With Liu's strength, he doesn't need to take Kamikaze Academy seriously. If things get really serious, it's not clear who I'm going to give my recovery sausage to. But if Liu gets injured, I'll definitely have enough sausages. Okay, let's watch the game. It's already started, the master interrupted at this time. So Oscar immediately shut up, and together with Ma Hongjin, he turned his gaze towards the competition venue in the center. However, Ma Hongjin still secretly said to Oscar, Xiao, do you know what happened between the master and teacher Erlong's fingertips? Since yesterday, the 2 of them seem to have completely changed, and now they are emitting the sour smell of love everywhere. Oscar also whispered back to him, I don't know, But it may be because Teacher Erlong succeeded again? After all, it was like this every time before. Then the two of them suddenly heard Teacher Erlong's death cough in their ears, and they were instantly silent. Now the sight returned to Tang Liu. Since this match was a match between one person from Shrek Academy and 7 people from Shenfeng Academy, it was not surprising that the organizers once again arranged them to the competition platform in the center. Then, when both sides of the game appeared in the audience's field of vision, the entire competition area was suddenly silent for a moment. Then the next moment, there was an even more crazy and excited noise, rising to the sky. It was not only the audience who couldn't believe it, but also the opponent Shenfeng Academy. The other colleges watching the battle, as well as Emperor Zhu Yi and others on the platform, were also in disbelief. What was Shrek planning to do? Was he going to the sky? We finally built 57 floors. Excluding the floors that were built by the same person, it is possible that the author's eyes wandered. The final results are as follows. 1. Jinring Su, with 19 votes. 2. Hulina, with 0 votes. I thought many people liked her. 3. Guyuna, with 0 votes. Ha, it seems that I am not the only one who thinks it is wrong to compete with 50 for a wife. 4. Shui Binger, with 1 vote. 5. Bibi Dong, with 9 votes. A little regrettable, the author actually wanted to write about her, but now it seems that she will be put in the extra chapter. 6. Tang San, with 9 votes, same as Bibi Dong. It seems that everyone is destined to meet in the extra chapter. 7. No CP, with 3 votes. It seems that some people still think that being alone is beautiful is very good, so the author should think about whether there is any suitable extra chapter to write. 8. That's it, so the final heroine is still Jinring Su. Well, it is not much different from the author's idea, so please look forward to it. Finally, thank you all for your support for so long. Thank you for your collections and your recommendation votes. Chapter 142, Single-Handedly Challenge Kamikaze Academy. Feng Xiaoshan finally waited for the battle with Shrek Academy. He had put in a lot of effort for this battle. Because there was always a little secret in his heart. He liked Ho Wu from Blazing Academy. He liked her very much. So after watching the match between Shrek and Blazing Academy, he wanted to defeat Shrek Academy. The best thing would be to defeat Tang San and Tang Liu from Shrek personally. He kept thinking, if he could defeat Tang San and Tang Liu for Ho Wu, would Ho Wu owe him a favor? Then, would he be able to succeed in getting promoted? Every time he thought of this, Feng Xiaoshan felt extremely shy and excited, and even thought of countless names for his and Ho Wu's future children. With such fantasies and a happy life in his mind, he led his team members to stride into the competition venue. Then he saw Tang Liu standing alone on the opposite side. Feng Xiaoshan, a moment of confusion flashed across his face. Did he get up the wrong way today? Or was his posture not handsome enough when he entered the venue? He remembered that the game was a 7-on-17 battle, right? Where are the other 6 people from Shrek? However, the confusion was only for a moment. When Feng Xiaoshan figured out the current situation, he was immediately filled with an irrepressible anger. What does Shrek mean by this? Does it look down on them? Does it only send one student to compete with them? Does it not take them seriously? Looking at Tang Liu, who was alone on the opposite side, the 7 people from the Kamikaze Academy felt that they were strongly offended. So Feng Xiaoshan looked at Tang Liu with a sullen face, with anger hidden in his eyes, and said, "What are you Shrek going to do?" He thought he would hear Tang Liu say something very provocative. But the fact is just the opposite. Tang Liu's attitude next can be said to be very humble. With a smile on his face, he replied to Feng Xiaoshan, "I'm really sorry. The previous battle between Shrek and Kanghu Academy caused all our main players to be seriously injured. They need to recuperate for at least a few days before they can recover their combat capabilities. Originally, our teacher was ready to give up the next 2 games, but I argued hard to get the opportunity for me to participate alone. However, I know that my chances of winning against you alone are almost 0, so I am only here to go through the motions. Please show some mercy later. I will only put up a symbolic resistance and then admit defeat. After all, I chose to compete alone just to avoid any regrets." After hearing what he said, Feng Xiaoshan and his teammates all looked much better. Feng Xiaoshan originally disliked Tang Liu because of Ho Wu, but now his favorability towards him has increased a lot. Besides, Tang Liu's appearance is there, and because of his height and age, he looks young. He is very much like the legendary well-behaved and sensible little brother at home, and it is difficult to make people angry. So he smiled back and said, "You are right. It is indeed better not to leave any regrets for such a rare experience as a competition. We will be careful to hold back later, don't worry." Tang Liu raised the corners of his lips, smiled very sincerely, and said, "Thank you, senior. But I will do my best, and I hope you can do the same. Otherwise, 7 of you will fight against me alone, and I will have to replace a few people. Would that be embarrassing?" Feng Xiaoshan thought it made sense, so he said, "You are right. We will do our best, not only to ensure that everything is foolproof, but also to show respect to your Shrek Academy. However, if you find that you can't continue to hold on under our offensive, I hope you can admit defeat on your own initiative to avoid getting hurt." Tang Liu laughed. "Okay, as you say." So, after the two sides finished negotiating, the referee announced the start of the game. As soon as the referee finished speaking, Tang Liu and Feng Xiaoshan rushed towards each other at the same time. Both sides released their martial spirits at the same time. Surrounding Feng Xiaoshan were 4 circles of spirit rings, 2 yellow and 2 purple. The 1 yellow, 1 purple and 2 black spirit rings around Tang Liu were still the most eye-catching in the entire arena. And the Divine Wind Academy is indeed the strongest among the 5 elemental academies. Tang Liu saw that in their team, including Feng Xiaoshan, there were a total of 3 soul masters. As for the other students of the Divine Wind Academy, after releasing their martial spirits, they stayed in place very tacitly. Although they said they would go all out, they couldn't really go and beat Tang Liu alone. That would not only make the audience laugh, but they would also feel bad. If something really happened, it wouldn't be too late for them to go up and help. Besides, is it really true that their captain can't defeat an auxiliary spirit master? The Divine Wind Academy has a good mentality and a good self-image. They didn't realize one thing until this moment. If Shrek really wanted to win the game without any regrets, Tang Liu, Oscar, Ma Hongjin, Ning Rongrong, Zhu Zhuqing and Jiang Zhu could still participate. Although it was 6-7, the chance of winning was still great. Now only Tang Liu was sent to the field. If he won, he would naturally become a god in one battle. But if he lost, it would be overestimating his own ability. I am afraid that no one in Shrek would tolerate Shrek carrying such a bad reputation. So if Tang Liu dared to go on stage, he must have gone for the result of winning. Therefore, the people of the Divine Wind Academy soon found out that they were wrong, very wrong. That is, from the beginning to the end, they did not take this game seriously. They knew that Tang Liu was very strong, even if he was just an auxiliary spirit master. But they subconsciously thought that no matter how strong Tang Liu was, we could not lose in a 7-on-1 situation. Then their failure was doomed. Or, they could not win in the first place. Feng Xiaoshan is 24 years old this year, with a spirit power level of 44, and has a wind-attributed mutant spirit, the Gale 2-headed demon wolf. This mutant martial soul, which is close to the top beast martial soul, not only brings him the attack and defense capabilities of a strong attacking spirit master, but also brings him the speed of a quick attacking spirit master. So in a breath, he came to Tang Liu. After being possessed by the martial soul, his hands have turned into sharp wolf claws, and his body has also expanded, looking taller and more terrifying. He looked at the 2 black soul rings beside Tang Liu in front of him, and couldn't help but feel awe and sigh. When you are a soul master, you can absorb the 10,000-year soul ring. If someone told Feng Xiaoshan this before, he would definitely not believe it. But now the living example is in front of him, and he can't help but believe it. So how did Tang Liu do it? His physical fitness must be very good, otherwise he would definitely not be able to withstand the 10,000-year soul ring. But is it really reasonable for an auxiliary spirit master to have such a strong physical fitness? While thinking about this, Feng Xiaoshan also waved a claw towards Tang Liu. This claw was just to test Tang Liu's strength, and he only used less than 30% of his strength. If Tang Liu couldn't block it, he would immediately change his fighting style and choose a method that would cause less damage and end the game quickly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143 Tang Liu's Fight. Then, Feng Zai Ocean saw Tang Liu easily take his first attack. Tang Liu's response was simple and clever. He stepped in the ghost shadow, shifted to the side, watched Feng Zai Ocean's wolf claws pass straight in front of him, then quickly raised his hand, with the help of the black jade hand, grasped Feng Zai Ocean's forearm and upper arm, and used the crane-controlling dragon to remove Feng Zai Ocean's strength. So, in Feng Zai Ocean's feeling, the strength of his claw just now was like a drop in the ocean, disappearing without a trace. He was a little surprised that Tang Liu could handle it so easily, but then laughed loudly and said, "Very good, then I'm going to do my best now." Tang Liu hooked his lips, happy to accompany you. The moment Feng Zai Ocean finished speaking, he used his left claw to hit Tang Liu's chest, and at the same time tried to withdraw his right hand. With the help of the purple magic pupil, Tang Liu saw Feng Zai Ocean's movements in advance, so he gently kicked the ground with his toes, and the next moment, the whole person took off. But his hands were still on Feng Zai Ocean's right arm, so he flipped to the other side of Feng Zai Ocean. After dodging Feng Zai Ocean's left claw, he let go of Feng Zai Ocean's arm, and then flew out in the air. After landing, he immediately rolled over, and while releasing the force, he turned around, supported himself with one hand and crawled slightly, looking at Feng Zai Ocean in front of him. Feng Zai Ocean smiled and said, "It's not a good idea to distance yourself from me." The first soul ring on his body lit up, and when the two wolf claws waved, several wind blades flew towards Tang Liu. The first soul skill, Wind Blade Formation. Tang Liu supported himself with one hand and flew up directly, then rolled forward, just avoiding Feng Zai Ocean's Wind Blade Formation. After landing, he looked at Feng Zai Ocean, who was only a few steps away, and said, "Then I'll come over again." As soon as he finished speaking, he rushed over. Feng Zai Ocean did not choose to retreat, and also came forward. Only this time, his first and second spirit rings all lit up. The second spirit skill, the Twin Wolf Possession, can fully enhance his own attack and defense capabilities. The first spirit skill, the Wind Blade Array. After being blessed by the Twin Wolf Possession, several wind blades flew towards Tang Liu at a faster speed. Moreover, the distance between the two was very close, and it would be very difficult for Tang Liu to dodge. His reaction speed was not up to that level, so he did not choose to dodge, but his whole body was slightly lit up with a blue-black light. All the wind blades fell on him, but there was a sharp cutting sound, and there were even blue sparks splashing out where the wind blades touched. Tang Liu blocked Feng Zai Ocean's attack, and the distance between the two was shortened again. The next moment, Feng Zai Ocean swung his two wolf claws again, and crossed his left and right hands to attack Tang Liu. Tang Liu also raised his hands at this time, with his left hand below and his right hand above, his 10 fingers slightly bent, and his palms facing diagonally. Then a blue force field appeared between his two hands, just to catch Feng Zai Ocean's attack. However, Feng Zai Ocean's attack this time was indeed very powerful, and Tang Liu's hands sank slightly. But it was only for a moment, and then his hands stabilized again. He looked at Feng Zai Ocean's surprised expression, tilted his head and raised the corners of his lips. The next moment, his hands moved again. The palm of his left hand turned back, and the right hand circled under the left hand at the same time, and then suddenly raised it. The Howlin force field suddenly gushed out, directly knocking Feng Zai Ocean high up. In the air, Feng Zai Ocean immediately used his third soul skill, the Wind Wings, and the soul power turned into a pair of blue wings on his back, which stabilized his body. He covered his aching chest and looked at Tang Liu with disbelief. "Is this the power of your soul bone?" he asked. Tang Liu smiled. "Yes." Then he immediately threw a Howlin force field to him from a distance. The Howlin force field was like a blue arrow, flying towards Feng Zai Ocean at a high speed. Feng Zai Ocean barely avoided it, and his eyes looking at Tang Liu suddenly became more solemn. Although he was reluctant, he had to admit it. He was not Tang Liu's opponent. However, if he asked his teammates for help, he couldn't bring himself to do it. However, his teammates did not disappoint him. When they saw that the situation was already unfavorable to their boss Feng Zai Ocean, the other 6 people from the Divine Wind Academy were a little unsettled. Now, after seeing Feng Zai Ocean being knocked away by Tang Liu, the remaining 2 Soul Masters rushed out directly and headed straight for Tang Liu. The 2 Soul Masters of the Divine Wind Academy, one is a 42nd level strong attack system, with a martial soul of Swift Wind Leopard, and the other is a 41st level agile attack system, with a martial soul of Green Winged Hummingbird. In terms of single-round speed, the green-winged hummingbird Soul Master must be faster, so he is also the Soul Master closer to Tang Liu. However, after seeing Tang Liu's series of close combat abilities just now, he did not rush forward, and also used his first soul skill to test from a distance. Generally speaking, the first soul skill of a Soul Master with a wind attribute is usually related to Wind Blade. Either it is a wind blade that can perform long-range attacks, or a wind blade attached to the arm for close combat. Coincidentally, the first soul skill of this Green Wing Hummingbird Soul Master is a long-range wind blade, called Green Wing Cross. As the name suggests, it is a cross-shaped wind blade. The first soul skill of the Swift Wind Leopard Soul Master is called Swift Wind Blade, which condenses the wind elements around the arms and turns them into sharp blades. In short, the advancing Green Wing Hummingbird Soul Master stopped to release the first soul skill, so the Swift Wind Leopard Soul Master surpassed him in the end, and he and his Green Wing Cross arrived in front of Tang Liu almost at the same time. Seeing this, Tang Liu took a half step back, lowered his body slightly to lower his center of gravity, and then pushed forward with both palms. A wall-like shield formed by the Hyaolin force field blocked him in front of him, just taking the slash of the Green Wing Cross and the Swift Wind Leopard Soul Master. A tiny explosion occurred instantly at the point where the Blue Wing Cross and the Hyaolin force field came into contact, causing the Swift Wind Leopard Soul Master next to him to stagger backwards. Tang Liu immediately seized this opportunity, retracted the Hyaolin force field in front of him, and then jumped forward and flipped sideways. While in the air, two blades with extremely wide surfaces condensed on his hands. When he rolled in the air and faced the Swift Wind Leopard Soul Master below, his left hand, which had already rotated a circle, hit the Swift Wind Leopard Soul Master's back with an irresistible force with a Hyaolin force field on his left hand. The next moment, the Swift Wind Leopard Soul Master was slapped and flew out, and then fell to the ground on the competition stage. At the same time, Tang Liu rolled in the air again before landing. After landing, driven by the force accumulated while rolling in the air, he used his left foot as a support point, and his whole body crouched slightly. After a circle, the Hyaolin force field on his right hand flew towards the Blue Wing Hummingbird Soul Master with even more rapid force. The Green-Winged Hummingbird Soul Master was horrified and immediately used his soul skills. First, he threw a Green-Winged Cross at the flying Hyaolin force field, intending to delay time. But after just one encounter, the Green-Winged Cross was directly pierced by the Hyaolin force field and turned into nothingness. The speed of the Hyaolin force field continued to fly towards him without slowing down. When the Hyaolin force field was about to reach him, the Green-Winged Hummingbird Soul Master finally flew up, and finally the Hyaolin force field flew past his toes. But after Tang Liu threw the Hyaolin force field on his right hand, he immediately threw the Hyaolin force field on his left hand, and the direction of the throw was exactly where the Green-Winged Hummingbird Soul Master was now. So the Green-Winged Hummingbird Soul Master, who had just dodged the first Hyaolin force field, was hit far away in the air by the second Hyaolin force field the next moment. Chapter 144, Empty Fight, Quick Decision. It sounds slow, but it actually happened in a few breaths. So, in the eyes of the onlookers, Tang Liu overturned the two Soul Masters of the Divine Wind Academy after a quick operation. Amid the cheers of the audience, the faces of the people who were still standing in the Divine Wind Academy were extremely ugly. Feng Zai Ocean, who was flying in the air, was even more so. Originally, when the Swift Wind Leopard and the Green-Winged Hummingbird Soul Master launched an offensive against Tang Liu, he also planned to launch an attack. But what he didn't expect was that the two were knocked down by Tang Liu in just one encounter. Even if he was fast, he couldn't react in such a short time. So while maintaining the momentum of diving, he could only watch his two Soul Masters fall to the ground one after another, and they didn't get up for a long time. This scene scared him so much that he immediately stopped and looked at Tang Liu in doubt. Tang Liu smiled at him, and when he saw that he had no intention of continuing to come forward, he immediately rushed towards the remaining four Soul Masters of the Divine Wind Academy. Feng Zai Ocean was immediately shocked. The two Soul Masters were unable to defeat Tang Liu, and were defeated in one encounter. Now they were replaced by weaker Soul Masters. Although there were four of them, it was clear that if Tang Liu succeeded, they would be defeated in seconds. So Feng Zai Ocean immediately shouted loudly, almost screaming, "Fly up!" At the same time, he quickly used his first soul skill on Tang Liu, hoping that the wind blade formation could delay time so that his remaining teammates would not be defeated immediately. In fact, Feng Xiaoshan didn't need to remind him. When he saw Tang Liu rushing over, the 4 Soul Masters of the Divine Wind Academy all flew into the air in panic. That way, they looked like a group of pigeons with green wings that were suddenly startled and flew away in the square, which was inexplicably funny. And Feng Xiaoshan's wind blade formation did buy them some time. Because Feng Xiaoshan knew that his wind blade formation would hardly hit Tang Liu, and even if it did, it would not cause any damage to Tang Liu, let alone any blocking effect. This can be seen from the previous battle between the two people. Therefore, Feng Xiaoshan never thought of delaying Tang Liu by using the wind blade array. His real goal was to block Tang Liu's sight and prevent him from launching the Hyaolin force field again. According to Tang Liu's attack on the green-winged hummingbird Soul Master just now, the flying speed of his Hyaolin force field was enough to knock down all the 4 Soul Masters before they could fly up. But as long as there was a little more time, the 4 Soul Masters could successfully fly up. And to gain this moment of time, the only way to succeed was to block Tang Liu's sight. Now the facts also told him that his idea was right. Because the sight was blocked, Tang Liu could not accurately aim at the 4 Soul Masters, so that they all flew up, and then quickly came to Feng Xiaoshan and gathered together. At this time, the 2 Soul Masters who had been knocked down before also stood up again, and then quickly flew to Feng Xiaoshan's side, looking at Tang Liu below with an ugly face. Tang Liu originally felt a little regretful for not being able to beat the 4 Soul Lords. Now that he saw the 2 Soul Masters rejoin the team, his regret became even stronger. And he even felt a little angry. He looked up at the 7 people from the Divine Wind Academy and smiled. Now he regretted it a little. He shouldn't have just chosen to knock the 2 Soul Masters away, he should have been more ruthless and made them out directly. In this way, the Divine Wind Academy would immediately lose 2 main players in this game, and the battle would end quickly. But now, although he has beaten up the 3 Soul Masters from the Divine Wind Academy, they are still on the stage and can continue the game. This means that the time of this game will be extended a little, and he may reveal more abilities. With the competition not even halfway through, this is undoubtedly extremely disadvantageous to him. After all, no matter how unsolvable an ability seems, as long as you are willing to look for it, you can eventually find a way to restrain it. It's just like a math problem. No matter how much you think it looks like an unsolvable problem, no matter how sure you are that there is no answer to this problem, the reference answer can give you a solution, leaving you confused. So Tang Liu decided to fight quickly and end the game as soon as possible. Feng Xiaoshan, who was in the air, was secretly relieved after all the team members gathered. He said to his team members, "We will keep flying and consume Tang Liu in the air. After all, he can't fly. As long as we keep steady, we can do it." Before he finished speaking, he saw Tang Liu on the competition stage running straight towards them. Yes, just like the literal meaning, Tang Liu ran towards them. Every time Tang Liu landed, a Hyaolin force field would appear under his feet in time, providing him with a force point, allowing him to quickly approach the 7 people from the Kamikaze Academy like climbing stairs. At the same time, a blue-black stream of light gradually condensed in his hands, and his eyes were fixed on the Kamikaze Academy, as if he was ready to launch the Hyaolin force field at any time. Feng Xiaoshan immediately screamed, "Scatter, scatter, scatter!" He flew away quickly before he finished speaking. The rest of the students of the Kamikaze Academy also flew away in a panic. The next moment they scattered, several arrow-like blue force fields flew through them with a whistling sound, which gave them goosebumps. At this speed, if they landed directly on their bodies, they would probably have 2 cuts on the spot, right? The Kamikaze students shuddered together, and then flew farther away, looking back from time to time to see where Tang Liu was, as if they were avoiding a flood or a beast. However, although they were a little flustered, Feng Xiaoshan did not forget to give the order to attack. After all, flying in the sky also consumed a lot of soul power. If they only focused on running and hiding, they would have to lose the game because of insufficient soul power before Tang Liu could beat them all up one by one. Therefore, while flying, the students of the Divine Wind Academy who had long-range attacks did not forget to turn around and throw an attack at Tang Liu from time to time. Whether they could hit the target or not was another matter, but at least their attitude was shown. If they lost the game, they would be less scolded when they returned. Tang Liu used the Hyaolin force field to move in the air, dodging the attack from the Divine Wind Academy, and at the same time, he rushed towards the Divine Wind student closest to him. However, running could not catch up with flying, and it was difficult for him to catch up with a Divine Wind student. He frowned slightly, and the next moment, the whole person disappeared in the blue light. Almost at the same time, a blue light lit up in front of a Soul Master of the Divine Wind Academy, and then two Hyaolin force fields flew out of the blue light, destroying the pair of blue wings behind the student at lightning speed. When the student saw Tang Liu's figure clearly in the blue light, he screamed and fell quickly downwards. Chapter 145, A Big Move. The other students of the Kamikaze Academy immediately noticed the movement, and the student closest to them was still thinking about going to rescue. But the next moment, a similar blue light appeared beside him, and then this student followed the previous student and fell down. Another student wanted to rescue, but Feng Xiaoshan, who had been paying attention to the whole field, immediately said loudly, dispelling their intentions, "Referee, they are out, save them." The next second after Feng Xiaoshan's voice fell, the referee's figure immediately appeared beside the two falling Kamikaze students, and then brought them back to the ground one by one, and announced their elimination. At the same time, Feng Xiaoshan also re-instructed his remaining team members, "Now fly at low altitude and attack Tang Liu with all your strength. Pay attention to dodge, increase your speed, and try not to let him succeed again. You try your best to delay him and create opportunities for the controlled type Soul Master to control him. I will use my self-created soul skills to deal with him." The Kamikaze students immediately acted according to what Feng Xiaoshan said. They lowered their flight altitude, about 3 meters above the ground. At this height, even if their wings were destroyed by Tang Liu, they could control their bodies and land safely on the ground, so as not to be eliminated immediately like the two people just now. After a period of buffering, they could fly again. However, when they wanted to attack Tang Liu, they were surprised to find that they had lost Tang Liu's trace. When they looked around, they saw that Tang Liu had appeared beside Feng Xiaoshan at some point, with a blue force field in his hand pointing directly at Feng Xiaoshan's throat. Everyone who saw this scene couldn't help but shrink their pupils. Because hundreds of arrows and blue force fields surrounded Feng Xiaoshan, blocking all his escape routes and making him unable to move. Tang Liu's body was shining with blue-black light, floating quietly in front of Feng Xiaoshan, looking at him. Then, he raised his free left hand and snapped his fingers lightly. "Stay there and don't move." As he spoke, thousands of blue force fields appeared, just like surrounding Feng Xiaoshan, restricting all the remaining people in the Kamikaze Academy. Like Feng Xiaoshan, they were unable to move immediately. Tang Liu looked at Feng Xiaoshan and smiled apologetically. "You can't use your self-created soul skill now, so I have to end this game." He tilted his head to look at the students of the Divine Wind Academy, then looked at Feng Xiaoshan and smiled. "Are you admitting defeat?" Feng Xiaoshan swallowed his saliva and nodded with difficulty. Tang Liu laughed softly, his figure floated back, and then slowly fell down. After standing on the competition stage, he looked at the referee and tilted his head. The referee understood and then announced his victory. After a simple silence, the entire competition venue was set off by an unprecedented wave of enthusiasm, and the enthusiastic cheers of the audience seemed to shake down all the surrounding buildings. Tang Liu raised his hand and waved lightly, and the Hyaolin force field that almost covered the entire sky above the competition stage turned into blue light spots at the same time and dissipated. The remaining 5 people from the Divine Wind Academy also slowly flew down from the air, and then retracted their martial spirits. They looked at each other and saw the bitterness in each other's eyes. 7 against 1, an overwhelming situation, but it was not that they defeated Tang Liu overwhelmingly, but that Tang Liu defeated the 7 of them by himself without any suspense. Today's face was a big loss, but it also made them see the gap in strength between them and Tang Liu. It can really be said that there is a world of difference. They really have no power to resist in front of him. Since Feng Xiaoshan's strength is the strongest among them, his feeling is also the strongest. He clearly felt that Tang Liu still had a lot of spare strength in this battle. When he fought with them, it was really like playing. In the eye-popping scene that decided the final victory, Tang Liu was a little serious. However, this point was the solution to the game in an instant. What if Tang Liu had attacked directly like this at the beginning? What if Tang Liu had fought them with all his strength at the beginning? How long could they last? This question had no answer before they were worthy of being Tang Liu's opponent. And now, they are not worthy because they are too weak. Although they are reluctant to admit this, the facts are there, and they cannot help but admit it. The low pressure in the Kamikaze Academy was in sharp contrast to the cheering audience. "The last move you used, was it your soul bone skill?" Feng Zai Ocean finally asked in order to make himself give up completely. Tang Liu was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, I guess so. Feng Zai Ocean sighed and said, I didn't expect you to be so strong. If you Shrek had always sent you to play, I'm afraid there would be no suspense in this competition. The final champion must be you. Tang Liu laughed out loud. In fact, even if I didn't play, the champion of this competition would be no suspense. It can only be our Shrek Academy, because the other people in our academy are not much different from me. He then shrugged. Besides, I can't play all the time. Feng Zai Ocean expressed his understanding. If Tang Liu was in their academy, he would not let Tang Liu play all the time, but would use it as a trump card and never use it until the critical moment. It would be best to hide it until the finals as a bargaining chip for winning the championship. Because the more times you play, the greater the possibility of being thoroughly studied, and the easier it is for opponents to find countermeasures. Over time, the role of the killer will become smaller and smaller, until the effect it can play in the team finally becomes the same as that of ordinary players, or even worse than that of ordinary players. Because as soon as you go on the court, you will become the target of the entire enemy team. Feng Zai Ocean said, we underestimated Shrek Academy before. A school that can teach students like you should not be a weak school. If there is a chance in the future, I hope to come to your school for exchanges and learning. At the same time, I also look forward to the next competition with you. Tang Liu looked at him and said, Shrek welcomes your school to come for exchanges and learning at any time. In addition, I may not participate in the next game between our two schools. However, don't underestimate the other talents of our school because of this, otherwise you will definitely lose miserably. Feng Zai Ocean answered seriously, thank you for the reminder. He was not just talking casually. But he had made up his mind in his heart that when he encountered a game with Shrek Academy in the future, he must go all out at the first time and never show any sign of underestimating the enemy. Tang Liu, who accidentally pitted Tang San again, did not find anything wrong. Instead, he seemed very happy and said to Feng Zai Ocean, you two cooperated very well, and your strength is indeed very strong. Your insight and command abilities are also excellent, but you need to pay more attention to some small details. In addition, you need to work harder in your daily training. In that case, you may be better than you are now. Tang Liu walked to Feng Zai Ocean. The two were not far apart, then reached out and gently patted his arm, because his shoulder was a little too hard to reach, and encouraged him calmly, as a man, you must have dignity. It is not good to lick a dog. Remember one sentence, lick a dog, and you will end up with nothing. If Hao Wu doesn't like you, don't just go over and warm your face to her cold butt. After saying that, he turned and left, without even looking back. His back was particularly chic. After all, he is now the one who won a challenge against an academy, so it is normal to be a little proud. On the other side, the students of Shenfeng gently pushed their captain Feng Zai Ocean and said, Captain? What are you daydreaming about? It's time to go. Feng Zai Ocean came back to his senses and looked at him. Have you noticed that Tang Liu is really handsome? The team members looked at their captain's slightly red face. Feng Zai Ocean was still talking to himself. Besides, he is also very strong. Finally, Tang Liu gently waved his hand, and thousands of Haolan force fields appeared easily, restricting all the students of Shenfeng, and then all the Haolan force fields that made them helpless disappeared. The scene has been deeply imprinted in his mind. Because that scene is indeed very shocking. Moreover, he thinks Tang Liu is right. He has always liked Hao Wu. It started when they first went to Chihiro College for exchange and study, and when he first met Hao Wu. But he never expressed his feelings, but he also hinted many times in secret. As a result, Hao Wu's attitude towards him has always been lukewarm, which made him bury his feelings deeper in his heart. Now after listening to what Tang Liu said, I suddenly felt a sense of enlightenment. Since she doesn't like me at all, I'll just let it go. There is no good end for being a bootlicker. So the team members watched their captain walk away, and from time to time he would say something like don't be a bootlicker and there is no good end for a bootlicker, and then they were in disarray in the wind. Small theater, later. Feng Zai Ocean, Tang Liu, I like you, please give me a chance to pursue you. Tang Liu, with a confused face, Tang San, Tang Hao, Feng Zai Ocean, I'm serious, please give me a chance. Tang Hao and Tang San silently raised the hammer. What did you just say? Think it over and say it again. Purely funny, just take a look. Finally, is the look of Feng Xia Ocean in the anime Lanling King wearing his Shadow Blade skin and traveling through time? Chapter 146, Round 14, Thunder Academy. While the whole Xiandao city was talking about the fact that one person from Shrek Academy challenged the entire team of Shenfeng Academy and won the final victory, there were also people secretly planning some bad things. For example, the Platinum Bishop of the Spirit Hall, Saras. Since before, after Shrek showed everyone in Xiandao City their strength in the first round, Saras decisively carried out a secret operation, so that Shrek would meet the Xiangjia Academy, which was particularly difficult for most academies in the second round. The purpose was to eliminate Shrek Academy as soon as possible, so as not to affect the final victory of the Spirit Hall. Although after knowing that Shrek Academy and the Master had a close relationship, Saras restrained his little thoughts. Or, because of the relationship between the Master and the Pope, he was a little afraid to attack Shrek Academy. But now, after seeing Tang Liu complete the feat of 1 against 7, he immediately made up his mind. Being able to sit in the position of Platinum Bishop of the Spirit Hall, Saras is naturally knowledgeable. Therefore, he knew very well that it was difficult for a soul sect to defeat 3 soul masters of the same level at the same time, plus 4 soul lords. Moreover, Tang Liu won so easily. Saras was very sure that Tang Liu's cultivation was definitely not just what he showed, that he was just a soul sect. His cultivation must be at least at the level of Soul King to easily accomplish the feat of 1 against 7. But if he was a Soul King, why did he only have 4 soul rings? There was only one answer. Twin martial souls. Yes, this well explained why Tang Liu could absorb the 10,000-year soul ring at a 3rd soul ring. Because his other martial soul had already absorbed the 10,000-year soul ring. So this Tang Liu must not be left, the threat is too great. Not only in this game, the impact on the golden generation of the Spirit Hall, but also for the entire Spirit Hall, Tang Liu's existence may threaten their future development. And that Tang San must not be left either. But now is not a good time to take action, because it is too easy to arouse suspicion. But this does not prevent him from reporting the matter first, so that the people above can prepare in advance. After the match with the Divine Wind Academy, Tang Liu took a day off and went on the field again. This time, his opponent was the Thunderbolt Academy, which was also one of the 5 elemental academies. It was still 1 against 7, so the match between them was once again placed on the most central stage by the organizer. The audience cheered enthusiastically after seeing Tang Liu come out alone. However, with the example of the Divine Wind Academy, the 7 people from the Thunderbolt Academy did not feel angry. Instead, they looked solemn and looked at Tang Liu as if they were facing a great enemy. The captain of the Thunderbolt Academy, Yu Xiangxin, was the cousin of Tang Liu's chief uncle and the nephew of Liu Erlong. He was also born in the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family. His martial soul was the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex, and he was a level 43 strong attack-type fighting soul sect. As soon as he came on stage, he looked at Tang Liu and said seriously, "We know you are strong, so we will not be careless like Shenfen. We will try our best from the beginning, so I hope you can admit defeat in time when you can't hold on anymore." So as not to get hurt, Tang Liu nodded to him lightly and smiled. "Thank you for reminding me." After the 2 sides finished negotiating, the referee immediately announced the start of the game. As soon as the referee finished speaking, the 7 people from Thunder Academy released their martial spirits at the same time, and then quickly rushed towards Tang Liu. The last scene of Tang Liu's battle with Shenfeng left an indelible impression on too many people, including the people from Thunder Academy. But due to time constraints, they couldn't think of any good way to restrain Tang Liu's last move. After all, if Tang Liu chose to use the move that eliminated Shenfeng at the beginning, then they wouldn't have to compete and could just admit defeat directly. Because there was no room for resistance at all. In the end, they only thought of the simplest, but most useful method. That is to immediately launch continuous attacks on Tang Liu at the beginning of the game, so that he has no chance to use that move. At the same time, they must also be careful not to let Tang Liu distance himself from them, otherwise they will still lose. So, after the game started, the Thunder students who released their martial spirits used defensive spirit skills together, and then all of them greeted Tang Liu. Anyway, they had no other opponents, so it was always right to throw them all at Tang Liu. Tang Liu was indeed shocked by the desperate posture of the Thunder Academy. In addition to being surprised, he immediately added a virtual spirit defense to himself, allowing those lightning with explosive attack power to pass through him. Although he had the virtual spirit defense, he would not be hurt by the lightning, but he was not immune to the paralysis effect of the lightning itself. Then, being bombarded by so many lightning at the same time, he felt to fall over and a little difficult to move. But the next moment, he began to slowly emit a blue-black light from his body, dispelling all the paralysis. At this time, Yu Xiangxin, the strongest player in the Thunder Academy team, also came to Tang Liu. His dragon-like right claw immediately grabbed Tang Liu with blue-purple electric light. Tang Liu immediately used Hail and Teleport to leave the original place and avoided Yu Xiangxin's attack. However, he was attacked again as soon as he showed his body. This time the attack came from another Soul Master of Thunder Academy, who is also a controlled type Soul Master in their team. Lei Dong, whose martial soul was Thunder Spider, had a soul power of level 43. A lightning net had quietly stretched out over the entire competition stage at some point, becoming an extension of Lei Dong's senses. From this moment on, everyone standing on the competition stage could be quickly sensed by him. At the same time, except for his teammates, they would also suffer from the paralysis effect of lightning all the time. Although Tang Liu was no longer afraid of the paralysis effect of lightning after the hail and force field was added, he would still be caught by the lightning net and then sensed by Lei Dong. In a way, such soul skills do have a great restraining effect on soul masters with soul skills such as teleportation. So the moment Tang Liu finished teleporting, Lei Dong also sensed his position, and immediately used his fourth soul skill on him. His fourth soul skill is to form shackles with lightning. If other soul masters are hit, they will be immediately bound and unable to move, passively bearing the burning and paralysis of lightning. Tang Liu was also a little surprised to suddenly see a lightning net appear in front of him, so he had to activate the Hail and Teleport again to avoid Lei Dong's fourth soul skill. Having written this far, the author looked up the original work for information, and found that both the Thunder Academy and the Kamikaze Academy have 4 soul masters, crying, but when the author read the later part, he found that the original work only wrote about 3 soul masters in the description of the Thunder Academy, so everyone assumes that both teams have only 3 soul masters. Anyway, they will not appear later, right? Or, it can be regarded as a butterfly effect, Doghead. Chapter 147 Win Again. Then Tang Liu found that he was attacked again. This time it was the last soul sect of Thunder Academy, Lei Tian, a 42nd level strong attacking soul master with the spirit of Thunder Eagle. The reason why Lei Tian was able to attack him this time was because Lei Tian had a soul skill of locking, which he used when Tang Liu's first teleportation ended, and then immediately rushed towards Tang Liu according to the guidance of the lock. Therefore, although Tang Liu teleported again, Lei Tian still caught up the next moment, waving his hands that had turned into wings, and slashed at Tang Liu with sparks and lightning. At the same time, Yu Xiangxin also caught up again, and immediately 4 soul rings flashed one after another, and also sparked and lightning all the way, waving dragon claws and attacking Tang Liu's chest and abdomen. Not only the 2 of them, but also the attacks of other people in Thunder Academy came at this time. First of all, Lei Dong, a controlled type soul master, immediately increased the control of Tang Liu, because the entire competition stage was now covered by his thunder net, so as long as Tang Liu was still standing on the competition stage, he would be under his control at any time. Secondly, the agility attack spirit master of Thunder Academy also relied on his extremely fast speed to get behind Tang Liu and launched an attack on him. Tang Liu, who was attacked from both sides, thought a lot in an instant. He clearly realized that the method adopted by Thunder Academy was very effective. If someone else came, he might be defeated under this continuous attack. But he was different. After all, he had 3 martial souls, 2 of which had spirit rings, which meant that he had more spirit skills than anyone in Thunder Academy now. So in various situations, his response methods and spirit skills were more than theirs. Not to mention that he also had 3 external spirit bones. Moreover, Tang Liu's main job was still an auxiliary spirit master who took a different path from all the auxiliary spirit masters on Douluo continent. The 4 spirit skills attached to his first martial soul were just enough to deal with the situation in front of him. So, after discovering that Lei Tian was about to come in front of him, Tang Liu made up his mind not to dodge in vain. The 4 soul rings around him lit up almost at the same time. First, there was the Void Spirit Control and Void Spirit Protection, which made him fearless of the attacks from the Thunder Academy. After that, As the blue-silver emperor in his palm grew rapidly, the blue cloud halo representing the breath of the void spirit also appeared on the field, which made him no longer interfered with by Lei Dong's control and also banned the attacking soul skills of the Thunder Academy. Finally, there was the void spirit anonymity. Tang Liu was already infinitely close to the title Douluo level, and under the control of Han Hai Wuya's mental power, he immediately disappeared from the side of the Thunder Academy. Lei Dong was the first to discover that his lock on Tang Liu was invalid. Then it was Lei Dong, because he could no longer sense Tang Liu's position through the Thunder Net. It seemed that Tang Liu had completely disappeared. But they all knew that this was impossible. Tang Liu must still be watching them from somewhere on the competition stage. And the most likely place to make his Thunder Net ineffective is in the air. The moment Tang Liu disappeared, Yu Xiangxin immediately gathered everyone together as much as possible, and at the same time, made good physical defense to prevent Tang Liu from defeating them one by one. At this time, Lei Dong also said his guest loudly, "Captain, my lightning net has lost the perception of Tang Liu, and he is very likely in the air now." The 5-second ban time of the breath of the spirit for offensive soul skills also ended at this time. So a member of the Thunder Academy immediately released an offensive soul skill covering a large area into the air. The most effective way to deal with stealth soul skills is to force the opponent to show up through range attacks. This is almost common sense in the Soul Master world, just like the Clear Sky Hammer is the first weapon spirit on the continent, and is well known by Soul Masters. However, waiting for the lightning to dissipate, the people of the Thunder Academy who looked up at the sky did not find any trace of Tang Liu no matter how they looked. So Yu Xiangxin immediately reacted and guessed wrong. He turned around instinctively and saw Tang Liu appear behind Lei Dong, with a light representing the Heaolin force field in his hand. Just like the 2 sentences mentioned earlier, when fighting a team battle, it is common sense in the Soul Master world to prioritize solving the control system Soul Master. Because the control system Soul Master is generally the core of the team, connecting all the team members and controlling the battle rhythm of the whole team. This means that as long as the control system Soul Master is solved first, then the team will lose its backbone, the possibility of victory will immediately increase greatly, and the battle will become relatively easier. So Tang Liu chose to attack Lei Dong, and Yu Xiangxin was not surprised at all. But now, he can only try his best to save Lei Dong, because he knows that the probability is very low. In fact, if it is a real life and death duel, Lei Dong may have died now. Tang Liu looked at Lei Dong's slightly tilted cheek and smiled. "Your logic is very good, but you are too confident in your soul skills. My second soul skill can just block all perception abilities." As soon as the voice fell, he raised his hand and patted Lei Dong's shoulder lightly. At the same time that the Heaolin mark was successfully marked, he also used the mark to directly make Lei Dong fall into coma. Then, another Heaolin teleported away from the encirclement of the Thunder Academy and almost reached the edge of the competition stage. However, before leaving, he did not forget to replenish a breath of the Void Spirit, which made most of the soul skills of the Thunder Academy people fall into a forbidden state. Speaking of this, it must be mentioned that when Tang Liu first came to the central competition stage, he left several Heaolin marks here, so he could teleport on the competition stage at will. After getting away from the remaining 6 people from the Thunder Academy, Tang Liu took advantage of the fact that most of the soul skills of the Thunder Academy were banned and there was no way to quickly counter him, and once again used the trick he used against the Kamikaze Academy the day before yesterday. Only this time, hundreds of sword-shaped Heaolin force fields did not appear directly around the Thunder Academy people, but appeared behind Tang Liu. If you look at it from a distance and in the background behind Tang Liu, it looks like a group of bright stars in the night. Then in the next moment, these stars moved and fell at the same time, turning into a spectacular and magnificent meteor shower, all flying towards the 6 people from the Thunder Academy. Moreover, none of these meteor showers fell on empty space, all of them evenly fell on every student of Thunder Academy, which shows the strong control of Tang Liu's mental power. Facing such a large-scale attack, the people of Thunder Academy did not hold out for more than 5 seconds, and they were all defeated. When their team leader saw that the situation was not good, he immediately admitted defeat. When the referee stopped him, Tang Liu dispersed all the Heaolin force field, took a deep breath, and calmed down the soul power in his body that was a little turbulent due to excessive consumption. Then the referee announced the victory of Shrek Academy. After nodding to the people of Thunder Academy, Tang Liu planned to leave. But thinking that because of the relationship between Master and Liu Erlong, Yu Xiangxin was his cousin, so he finally said, "You have strong explosive power. My consumption today is greater than when I fought with Shenfeng Academy." Yu Xiangxin was stunned for a moment, then smiled bitterly and said, "Are you praising me?" Tang Liu shrugged, "I'm just telling the truth." "Let's go." He left without looking back. Before going out, he looked around the viewing platform as usual. The person he was looking for was not there. However, he unexpectedly found another familiar figure, which made him raise his eyebrows. Because that person was Zhu King. Or, Jin Ringsu, the little drama that came to mind later. Team members, Tang Liu was obviously talking about us at the time. Why did you automatically ignore we as the captain, Yu Xiangxin? Because, he's my cousin, Tang San. Chapter 148 Jin Ringsu, the more I think about it, the angrier I get. Jin Ringsu decided to watch the game after hearing that Tang Liu defeated the Divine Wind Academy in a 1-on-7 battle. Then she witnessed Tang Liu defeating the Thunder Academy in a 1-on-7 battle. Moreover, it seemed that the speed of victory was even faster than when he fought against the Divine Wind Academy. Jin Ringsu couldn't help but wonder, if she was fighting against the Divine Wind Academy or the Thunder Academy alone, could she win? The chance of winning must be very high. After all, she is also a Soul Emperor, but there is still a chance of failure. Moreover, if she wins, it will not be as easy as Tang Liu. When Tang Liu was playing, she felt like a Soul Emperor bullying a group of Soul Lords and Great Soul Masters. Although the Soul Lords and Great Soul Masters who were his opponents might cause him some minor troubles, this could not reverse the doomed situation of his crushing a group of Soul Lords and Great Soul Masters. The battle was doomed from the beginning, and he could not lose. But Tang Liu's opponents were 3 Soul Sects and 4 Soul Lords. Don't think that the difference between a Great Soul Master, and Soul Ancestor is just 1 less Soul Ring, but the difference between each Soul Ring is 10 levels of Soul Power, not to mention that the total amount of Soul Power at each level is not the same, and the gap between each level will be greater as you go further. This is most obvious among the title Douluo. After level 90, each level is very different, and the difference of 1 level of Soul Power often means that the higher level party will crush the lower level party. Of course, this only applies to the general situation in the Soul Master world. Just like generally speaking, almost all important concepts in biology and chemistry will be preceded by generally speaking, the sentence that the higher level of title Douluo will cause a crushing trend on the lower level must also be preceded by generally speaking. After all, not all Soul Masters meet this situation. Adding generally speaking can reflect humility and can prevent slapping in the face. Just like I added generally speaking to the previous sentence about the concept of biochemistry, it is to prevent you from finding a counterexample to slap me in the face one day. Back to the topic. Jin Ringsu came to an inconspicuous corner of the audience and sat down when the game started. She watched the game between Tang Liu and Thunder Academy quietly. She watched Tang Liu walk away from the competition stage after the game ended, and watched him look around on his way out. Then, her sight was caught off guard and bumped into the pair of strange blue-black eyes. She and the owner of the eyes were stunned at the same time. It seemed that they did not expect that their next meeting would start in this way. Then, Jin Ringsu saw that Tang Liu had completely turned his head to face her, and then stretched out his right index finger to his lips. When he lowered his head slightly, the corners of his lips also curled up. Jin Ringsu instantly understood what he meant. "Remember what I said. Don't tell others." She instantly felt an uncontrollable anger surge in her chest. Everything that happened that day was a stain that she could never erase in her life. She is the most talented of the younger generation of the Spirit Hall, and is a saint who has all the glory of the Spirit Hall. She has an angel spirit inherited from the gods, and is also a congenital level 20 full spirit power. She is a well-deserved child of destiny. She has been smart and even visionary since she was a child. So from a very young age, she replaced the Prince Zhu King and went undercover in the Xiandao Empire in order to achieve her goal, to fundamentally control the Xiandao Empire, and then lead the Spirit Hall to unify the continent. Until now, she is almost 20 years old. She is a girl who gave up the best years of her life to realize the ambitions of the Spirit Hall. However, her pride as the saint of the Spirit Hall, all her intelligence and wisdom, and even her own fundamental strength, were ruthlessly crushed by Tang Liu that day. Comparing talents? Tang Liu also has an innate level 20 soul power, and there is not much difference between the two. What's more, Tang Liu has twin spirits, and his talent can be said to be even better than hers. Comparing spirits? Not to mention that the quality of the martial soul that can bring the master the full soul power of the innate level 20 is not inferior to her angel martial soul, not to mention that the martial soul that Tang Liu showed that day, which was full of blue and black soul rings, made her angel martial soul feel like surrendering. This is enough to prove that the quality of Tang Liu's martial soul is definitely better than hers. Comparing origins? Tang Liu's father is Haoshan Douluo, a direct disciple of Haoshan sect as the first sect on the continent. Haoshan sect's power is not inferior to that of Spirit Hall. Even though Spirit Hall is strong now, it is unclear how strong Haoshan sect's foundation is. On the surface, Haoshan sect claims that there are only two titled Douluos, Xiaoshan and Haoshan. But what is the truth? Who can know it accurately except those people in Haoshan sect? What about strength? Jin Ringsu wanted to give herself a he. Not to mention that Tang Liu was completely crushing her that day. Now this battle with Thunder Academy made her see the gap between the two more clearly. Comparing age? Jin Ringsu wanted to slap herself. What kind of virtue is that? As a sister, why are you so desperate to compare your age with a little boy who looks super young in every aspect? Do you have any self-awareness? How thick-skinned are you? How desperate are you to think of comparing ages? Jin Ringsu spitted on herself fiercely in her heart. So there is no way to compare at all. If she insists on comparing, she can only be firmly stepped on. It really makes her angry. Jin Ringsu became more and more angry as she thought about it. Is this person born to be favored by God? The legendary son of the Lord of the Plains? No, 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 Tang Hao cannot be the Lord of the Plains. Although Jin Ringsu was thinking wildly in her heart, her eyes were always staring at Tang Liu, as if she was about to spit out substantial anger. However, the next moment, the expression on her face became unbelievable. Because Tang Liu looked at her and sneered softly, his lips moved slightly, and then he turned and walked away without even looking at her. With excellent eyesight, she easily understood what Tang Liu had just said. He said, "Childish. Childish. Childish. Hey, who is childish? How dare you, a little brat who is not even 15 years old, call me childish? Little brat, have you grown all your hair yet? Oh my god, the more I think about it, the angrier I get." Jin Ringsu stood there with her hands on her hips. If she wasn't surrounded by spectators, she might have started walking back and forth to show her inner anger. But she couldn't, so she could only stare at Tang Liu's back, hoping that her eyes could pierce Tang Liu. Small theater, later. Tang Liu, do you still remember what you said about me before? Jin Ringsu, there are too many things I can't remember. Tang Liu smiles. For example, your hair hasn't grown all yet. Jin Ringsu, guilty. No, I don't think so. She just thought about it in her heart and definitely didn't say it. Tang Liu, huh? Chapter 149 Battle against Xianshu. After the 2 1-on-7 matches, Shrek Academy became completely famous. Tang Liu, the Shrek student who personally completed the 1-on-7 feat, became famous as well. After that, Shrek Academy became the most powerful academy in the hearts of the people. For a time, all participating academies regarded Shrek Academy as an imaginary enemy, and no longer had the contempt for Shrek, a little-known academy at the beginning. But it was useless. Because among these participating academies, except for the 5 Elements Academy, which was basically equivalent to Shrek Academy, which did not participate in all the competitions, the rest of the academies were crushed. After Tang Liu finished a game with Thunder Academy, Shrek Academy easily won the subsequent games until the 26th round, and was currently the only team with 26 wins in 26 games, ranking first in the preliminaries. After that was Kamikaze Academy, which won 25 out of 26 games. Their only loss was the game with Tang Liu. Yes, since he got to know his mind, Feng Xiaoshan did not let up in the battle with Chihiro Academy as in the original book. Next is Leiting Academy, which won 24 out of 26 games. They lost to Tang Liu and Shenfeng Academy respectively, ranking third in the preliminaries. Next is Xianshu Academy, which has the same record as Leiting Academy, winning 24 out of 26 games. They have lost in the battles with Shenfeng Academy and Leiting Academy, and then won the battle with Chihiro Academy, so their ranking is ahead of Chihiro Academy compared with the original book. Finally, Chihiro Academy is here, winning 23 out of 26 games. They did not meet Leiting Academy, but lost to Shrek Academy, Shenfeng Academy, and Xianshu Academy. The preliminaries have only the last 27th round left. But this last game can only change the ranking of the top 5, and it does not affect the top 5 colleges in points to participate in the promotion game. So the final ones will still be Shrek, Shenfeng, Leiting, Xianshu, and Shihiro. Although it is not important, the game still has to go on. And Shrek's opponent in this last round was once again drawn from the 5 Elements Academy. This time it was the last of the 5 Elements Academy, Xianshu Academy. And since the end of the game with Thunder Academy, Tang Liu, who had not played again, once again waited for the opportunity to play. To be honest, most of the audience came to watch the game for Tang Liu. So Tang Liu did not play in the previous games, and the audience was undoubtedly disappointed. However, Shrek's battle was still exciting, so although the audience was a little disappointed, they were still very satisfied overall. Now it was the last game, and then the audience suddenly found Tang Liu's figure on the competition stage in the center. After a moment of stun, they began to cheer with all their strength. Xianshu Academy was full of girls, and they were all girls with super high looks. However, after seeing Tang Liu among the people on the opposite side, the faces of these girls became a little ugly. Shui Yuer immediately whispered to Shui Binger beside her, "Sister, Tang Liu is on the field, what should we do?" Shui Binger also whispered back, "Don't panic, we have already discussed the response methods in advance, and we will just play as we did in training." Shui Yuer said worriedly, "But will our method work? After all, Tang Liu's move to defeat Shang Shen and Leiting seems too unsolvable." Shui Binger smiled bitterly, "In fact, I don't know. At present, there should be no team in the entire competition that can compare with Shrek with Tang Liu on the field. Perhaps, only the team from the Spirit Hall can really compete with him. In short, we will just play normally later. Anyway, our chances of winning are not great. As long as we can play to our full strength and not embarrass Xianshu, it will be fine." Shui Yuer finally nodded, and said nothing more, waiting for the game to start. However, her eyes were always on Tang Liu, with curiosity and exploration in her eyes. "He is so young, why is he so strong?" The captains of both teams first announced their names, and after that, the referee announced the start of the match. The first to rush out were still the strong attack spirit masters of both teams. Then came the agile attack spirit masters of both teams. The difference between the two teams lies in the control spirit masters. Tang San followed closely behind the 3 strong attackers of Shrek, using his blue silver grass to connect everyone on his side, so that even if the attack of Xianshu Academy had extremely strong explosive power, he could quickly pull all his team members back to avoid a head-on collision. But Shui Binger, the control spirit master of Xianshu Academy, did not move. From beginning to end, her eyes were only fixed on 2 people, Tang San and Tang Liu. Then, when the strong attack spirits of both sides faced each other, her eyes suddenly flashed. The next moment, her first spirit ring lit up, and then, Shrek's 3 strong attackers, the control spirit master Tang San, and the assistant Tang Liu at the back, suddenly appeared with a thick layer of ice on their bodies. The movements of the Shrek people were immediately interrupted, and they were frozen in place and could not move. It was Shui Binger's first soul skill, ice. Moreover, she could instantly cast 5 ices at the same time, freezing 5 targets, which was enough to prove that her mental strength and mental control were not weak. How could Xianshu College miss such an opportunity? So the 3 strong attacking soul masters of Xianshu College immediately launched an attack on Shrek. Their target was Daimyo. They wanted to eliminate Daimyo, the main combat force, first, and achieve the goal of gradually weakening Shrek. Without Daimyo, the main combat force, Shrek's situation would undoubtedly become unfavorable. Because except for Tang Liu, Daimyo is now the strongest attacking force among the 7 people. Although Xiao Wu's attacking power cannot be ignored, she is strong in explosive power. But unfortunately, Shui Binger's ice soul skill just restrains Xiao Wu, a soul master with extremely strong explosive power. As long as she is controlled, Xiao Wu will be easily attacked by concentrated fire, and she is the kind of soul master with weak defense, so as long as she is concentrated, she will be eliminated. Naturally, the importance of Daimyo is self-evident. Therefore, when Daimyo was about to be attacked, Tang Liu, who was assisting in the back, took action. In fact, he had attached a void guard to himself since the beginning of the game, so Shui Binger's freezing had no effect on him. The reason why he is still standing still is purely to confuse the opponent and wait and see what happens. But the moment he saw Tang Liu was about to get into danger, he immediately walked out of the ice and attached the void guard to Tang Liu. The college entrance examination results are about to be checked, and the author is so panicked now. Chapter 150. Tang Liu is actually an assistant. So the next moment, Tang Liu was no longer restricted by the ice. At the same time, he did not choose to retreat in the face of the attacks of the three strong attacking spirit masters, but immediately met them. Because he had confidence in Tang Liu's void spirit control. In the state of void spirit control, he would basically not be hurt. So after taking a step out of the ice layer, the first and third spirit rings arranged on Tang Liu's body were immediately lit up. The two amplification spirit skills of White Tiger Body Barrier and White Tiger Vajra Transformation were instantly added to his body, and then he shot his pair of tiger palms towards the three strong attacking spirit masters and Xianshu. The three spirit masters were a little surprised to see Tang Liu suddenly escape, but now it was too late to withdraw the attack and retreat, so they gritted their teeth and decided to continue attacking. Then they were extremely shocked to find that their attacks directly passed through Tang Liu's body and did not cause any damage to him at all. But their attacks did not hit, which did not mean that Tang Liu's attack would stop, so the next moment, Tang Liu's tiger palm came in front of the three people with a golden air wave, and then directly lifted the three people back and flew out. Since the opponent was a girl, Tang Liu held back a bit. The tiger palm did not hit the three directly, but chose to blow the three away with the palm wind. It can be said that he was very kind to women. Not long after Tang Liu repelled the three strong attacking spirit masters of Xianshu, Tang San, Tai Long and Wang Yuan also broke free from Shui Binger's ice one after another. They all looked at Shui Binger with serious expressions. Shui Binger's face was also ugly, because this wave not only failed to take advantage and establish an advantage, but also suffered a loss. Since seeing Tang Liu's combatability, almost all of their colleges have focused on how to limit Tang Liu's attack ability. In addition, Tang Liu has not played in the game since then, so they have basically ignored the fact that Tang Liu is actually an auxiliary spirit master. As an auxiliary spirit master, every spirit skill that Tang Liu has shown so far is a spirit skill that can play a role in turning the tide of the battle at a critical moment. Just like now, with the same first soul skill, Shui Binger can easily restrict the 7 people of Shrek, and Tang Liu can also easily break the restriction of her first soul skill on the people of Shrek with just the first soul skill. And because of the surprise, their 3 strong attacking soul masters were injured to varying degrees. Therefore, Xianshu was at a disadvantage in the first collision with Shrek. However, the battlefield is always changing rapidly, and as a control soul master, he always has a good ability to adapt to changes. Therefore, although Xianshu suffered a loss in the first collision between the two sides, Shui Binger quickly adjusted her tactics to deal with Tang Liu's auxiliary ability. First of all, Tang Liu is still the biggest threat to them in Shrek Academy. So they must keep an eye on him and try to prevent Tang Liu from using the means to deal with the divine wind and thunder to deal with them again. Secondly, now they have to divide some of their minds to suppress Tang Liu's assistance to the people of Shrek. Finally, if they want to do the above 2 things, they must at least send 2 people to interfere with Tang Liu and try not to give him the opportunity to release soul skills. But considering Tang Liu's strength, just 2 people might not be enough. Referring to Lei Ting's situation, they actually did a good job at the beginning, and indeed caused some trouble to Tang Liu. However, they still underestimated Tang Liu's strength, so they still lost in the end. Therefore, Shui Binger never thought of letting her team members to contain Tang Liu. It was enough to interfere with Tang Liu's release of soul skills. But if more players were sent to contain Tang Liu, then Xianshu might lose faster, because the other members of Shrek were not easy to deal with. For example, the girl named Xiao Wu in Shrek Academy. Shui Binger had learned about her fighting style in detail, so she knew very well that once Xiao Wu got close to her, she would have no power to fight back at all, and there was a high possibility of being killed instantly. Although she could use ice to restrict Xiao Wu, the premise of this soul skill was to lock it through mental power. And Xiao Wu happened to have a teleportation soul skill that could restrain her lock. Soul skills such as teleportation and invisibility are soul skills that can restrain lock-type abilities. Therefore, Xianshu can only afford to send 2 players to interfere with Tang Liu. After that, Xianshu still has 5 players, and Shrek still has 6 players. Although the 2 sides are 1 person short, Shui Binger is confident that she can restrict Tang San and another spirit master of Shrek alone. In this regard, Shui Binger's first choice is Dai Mu Bei or Xiao Wu. In order to interfere with Tang Liu, first of all, you must have extremely strong speed to reduce the possibility of being hit by Tang Liu's attack. Then, you must have strong enough attack power to cause some trouble to Tang Liu. Therefore, the two agility attack spirit masters in the team are naturally excellent candidates. After quickly calculating the pros and cons, Shui Binger immediately said to Shui Yuer and another agile attack spirit master beside her, "You immediately go around from both sides to the back and try to interfere with Tang Liu's release of spirit skills. I will buy time for you and stop the Shrek students who want to support." Shui Yuer and another agile attack spirit master were a little surprised, but they immediately did as they were told. They rushed out of the team very quickly and rushed to Tang Liu behind Shrek from the left and right sides. Tang San saw this and understood Shui Binger's intention, so he wanted to use spirit skills to restrict the actions of Xianshu's two agile attack spirit masters. But the next moment, the familiar feeling of freezing came, and he was once again frozen by Shui Binger's spirit skills. At the same time, Xiao Wu, Jingling, Tai Long, and Wang Yuan were also frozen. Shui Binger also tried to freeze Dai Mu Bei, but Tang Liu's previous attachment of the void spirit control to Dai Mu Bei had not yet expired, so her freezing was ineffective on Dai Mu Bei. However, this did not have much impact, because in such a short time, their two agile attack spirit masters came to Tang Liu and attacked him at the same time. At the same time, in order to ensure that Tang Liu could be disturbed by their attack, Shui Binger used the Ice Soul skill again. This time the target was Tang Liu and Dai Mu Bei. The purpose of her move was to force Tang Liu to make a choice, whether to continue to attach the virtual spirit control to Dai Mu Bei, or to use it on himself to void her ice. Although Tang Liu did not appear many times, the major colleges had basically studied the spirit skills he had used so far. Therefore, it was natural to know that Tang Liu's first spirit skill could only be effective on one person at the same time. And Shui Binger also bet right, Tang Liu did not recycle the virtual spirit control on Dai Mu Bei, because her ice still did not work on Dai Mu Bei. But she was also wrong, because Tang Liu was not restricted by her ice. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.